All right, welcome back to another episode of Phoenix Edge. This is an RPG and gaming news podcast. My name is Hat.
And I'm Eric.
And we have a special guest today, Riconius. He's joining us to talk about Kingdom Hearts 3.
Hey.
And hold on, we got one thing playing in the background here. There we go.
Smooth transition, everyone.
We're having some technical options here. But anyways, we're here to talk about Kingdom Hearts 3. This is going to be a spoiler podcast episode. We're going to be spoiling Kingdom Hearts 3, probably other Kingdom Hearts games. And so if you're sensitive to spoilers in any way regarding the Kingdom Hearts games, I would probably watch this at a later date. But before we get into all that, Riconius, do you want to kind of fill in everybody on your YouTube channel and kind of like what you do and some of the content you like to put out there in case they want to check it out?
Sure. I talk about Kingdom Hearts. That's a huge emphasis on my channel. I am an artist, and sometimes I also live stream while I'm working on that stuff too. And yeah, just mostly Kingdom Hearts. That's what I do. So
awesome. Well, I mean, that's kind of why we thought, hey, we should have you on there, because we saw some of your videos. We thought they were pretty good, pretty well made, and you seemed like a knowledgeable source with Kingdom Hearts. So you might be able to kind of rub out some of the sore spots that we have and provide some extra context. So
sure,
hopefully it's pretty good. But anyways, so the way we wanted to structure this conversation was we figured we'd kind of start with the gameplay and see where that leads us. And then from there, we talk about some of the Disney and Pixar worlds, kind of rank some of our favorites and least favorites, then eventually get into the main Kingdom Hearts lore side of things, talk about the ending, of course, and then finally end where do we want to go from here. Obviously, we're going to stick to this exactly. We're not going to, stray from this at all. Obviously, I'm kidding there. We're probably not going to stick to that at all. But at least we put the effort out there to kind of structure it a little bit. We're trying. So, but just in general, the gameplay aspect of this game really impressed me. I was surprised for Kingdom Hearts, because, it kind of has a stigma sometimes with certain people that, these games are kind of hit or miss with the gameplay. But I feel like the gameplay was really, really tight in this entry. What do you all think?
Go ahead, man.
Yeah, I felt like it was a good blend of what Kingdom Hearts 2 did with the gameplay, and with most recently 0.2, how it felt very like the game had you use or utilize all of the features that you're given, or abilities, like with magic and the normal melee combat. With Kingdom Hearts 2, I felt like there were moments where it would force you to just stand still to cast a spell, and it kind of like slowed down a bit of the combat. But the melee was just where it definitely peaked for the series. And so with 3, what I really appreciated was how it allowed the player to use magic in a way that's more, I guess, fluid, with like the motion. Like, you're just constantly moving, and there's no real reason to stop. And I thought it felt really good. Yeah, like especially with the air combat, it allowed you to do a lot more, like, I don't know, crazy combos and whatnot. I don't know.
Yeah, that was a really cool cool feeling to be able to play with. Eric, what'd you think?
I thought the combat was fantastic. That is definitely one of the highlights of the game. I mean, it just, like you said, it feels smooth. It's like it never gets boring. You have a lot of options to deal with, rather if it's like doing something with Donald and Goofy, or the characters that join you, or you do the attractions, or you transform the weapons. It's like this game has so much variety on what you can do, and a lot of it is optional. None of it feels like it's forced on you. And just like they took a lot from 2 and like did improve on 3. Like Riconius just mentioned, you can move around, you can cast magic and use items in the air. You can using guard is a lot more accessible. Not to mention, now that I said that, stuff that should have been at the beginning of Kingdom Hearts like 1 and 2 are like at the beginning of 3. You get your guard, you get your dodge roll, you get these essential things. It's like they just throw you in and say, and it's like they know Kingdom Hearts fans are playing this first. He's like, we know you want these abilities, just go ahead and take them. Um, if I did have to complain about the battle system, there is a couple things. One is primarily one that bothered me a lot was the fact that you get attractions so easily, or you get
Mm.
transformations to your keyblade so easily. Now, I like the transformations. Like I liked using the pirate ship one. Of course, Ultimate Weapon is just godly.
Hmm.
Mm.
But it but I always felt like I got it too easy. Like you just have to swing the keyblade around a couple times or do something, and you get these amazing transformations with it. I kind of feel like they should have made it you have to put a little more effort to get these because right now there isn't a large threshold between who's a really good player and who isn't because do you get these certain kind of abilities going requires minimal like skill level to get them.
Mm.
So I feel like if you just did something a little more, like if you know how to mix and match combos or use like a ranking system similar to Devil May Cry or something, then it would activate those more frequently. But if not, it may activate it more rarely. Is I think kind of the way it should go, at least on proud mode.
Hmm.
And the other thing is that game's way too easy. Even on the hardest setting, it's like you can, if you have like experience with the series, like you'll get through this game no problem. Even the super bosses, I'm not like some super hardcore, really good Kingdom Hearts player, but I
Mm.
did beat that super boss at level 60 on the first try. So I did not I don't find any fight in this game necessarily hard. They're fun and they're very compelling, like the final boss with Xehanort. That was a
That
really
was
fun
epic.
fight. It was
That
very
was
Yeah.
epic,
that was super epic. Yeah, that was a lot of fun.
but it was very easy.
Right.
You know, I'm not as familiar with the series as you all are. Obviously, like I grew up when the game came out and everything like that.
Mhm.
So just for full transparency, I played Kingdom Hearts 1 and 2, and then obviously this one now. So I'm not familiar with most of the games, the side games. So for me, like all in all, I do think the combat for at least on normal mode was a little bit on the easy side. However, later in the game, I did have to do a couple attempts for some of the bosses that really kind of threw me for a loop until I found the groove. But I mean, it was on the easier side. I do think that they put the proud mode in there though for the veterans that are used to the series that really want that challenge. But I'm kind of conflicted though on the gameplay because it is real smooth. It is real tight feeling. But like Eric said, like it did feel like some of the special moves or some of the um, press triangle and this will happen, then this will
Mhm.
happen. Some of it came a little too easily, and you didn't really feel like you earned it. But at the same time, I kind of feel like the whole intention behind this was to just like data dump you or over dump like tons and tons of just like a variety of different moves and like flashing lights and just like
Mhm.
really create a spectacle out of it that was enjoyable to watch and and it creates a lot of variety to the gameplay and to try to take away from the fact that most of the time you're just pressing X and and you're dodging and stuff like that. It really helps to change the pace of gameplay and I think by and large like that's how I probably would have implemented it. I mean, by the end of the game, I kind of realized like everything kind of plays the same. Like, you just hold R2 or whatever, and just, something will happen while you're shooting some kind of, magic out or, something along those lines. But, I mean, I had a lot of fun with it. So I think that's at the end of the day, that's what the game should do.
Right.
It is fun. So, but Riconius, did you get any game overs or did you have to retry on any of the bosses?
I'd say it was mostly due to having been used to playing the previous games. So specifically with 2,
Hmm.
so I did I did die near the beginning of the game when you first show up in Twilight Town, and then no
Hmm.
bodies show up. And the reason why I died was because 1, I was distracted by the amazing environment, I was just like taking it all in, like, wow, this is HD Twilight Town. It looks awesome. And then also the muscle memory, like, oh man, let me press triangle to fight these nobodies, like in 2, do the reversal move and whatnot. So that kind of screwed me up because I was expecting that would work. It didn't work, of course. And so I died, and I was like, what, really? So I mean,
Yeah.
which is like, looking back, it's like, why did I die there? That was so stupid. And I think I died when I fought Xehanort at the end, because
that guy cleaned my clock. Like,
yeah,
I died
I didn't know
several
what to do.
times.
I didn't know what to do. Like, when he just like summons the power of Kingdom Hearts, and then like he's just like attacking you with all of his like selves or whatever, and like I'm like, well, what do I do? Do I just survive? Like, what? And I died.
I was watching while I was playing that fight. He was like turning the world like upside down and stuff, and I'm just like sitting there thinking like, dude, I feel like I'm out of my league here. Like, I got some spells and stuff, but like this guy's literally turning the planet like sideways. Like,
yeah,
like I don't know.
Yeah,
Man, I had the ultimate weapon when I fought him. So basically, when he came to me, I just smack his keyblade the side of me. I'm like, nope.
I did not have that, so it was, dude. I was like holding on for dear life. Like, I only had like regular potions left, and I ran out of those, and like it was just.
Well, and another thing for me is I have this obsession when I play a Kingdom Hearts game for the first time. I have to use the Kingdom Key when I'm like finishing fights that would like trigger the next cutscene, because I want the consistency. Like, Sora's using, like, canonically he's using the Kingdom Key. So I'm like, okay, I want the Kingdom Key to be the keyblade I use. So that also kind of hurt me a bit, because I'm like using just the Kingdom Key.
Right. You're trying to keep things in focus with the story. That makes sense.
That always bothers me, especially when you use like a Winnie the Pooh keyblade. like I remember like the fight with Roxas in Kingdom Hearts 2. He has like these 2 really cool Oblivion and Keeper weapons, and then I have like the pumpkin head from Nightmare Before Christmas, and I'm fighting him with that. It's like,
because then I was watching someone playing the game, and then like there's that very like that epic entrance that Sora has when they save Aqua or whatever, and then like when his Keyblade meets Aqua's Keyblade, and it's like someone had like the Monsters Inc. Keyblade on, and it just looked silly, and it was like a serious moment. Or even with like stuff later in the game too, where like Sora is like he's even in tears and stuff, and you have like this Keyblade that's just ridiculous, the design, and it just doesn't work. I don't know. So that's why I use Kingdom Key.
Well, to your benefit, also you can level up Keyblades.
Right. Yeah.
So you have more than you have more than enough reasons to keep the Kingdom Key on you.
Right. And that's the cool part. Yeah, and that was the cool part too, is that like for most of the game, the Kingdom Key was my best Keyblade. And I was like, oh, this is cool. Like I have a reason to use the Kingdom Key. Yeah.
I'm kind of surprised they didn't come up with that before, because people are like get emotionally attached to a certain design Keyblade they want to stick to. Like, I was always disappointed. Like the Guardian Soul Keyblade from 2, the orange one, was one of my favorite Keyblades ever. Like, that was such a cool looking weapon. And I immediately switched it out like 5 minutes later with something better. I'm like, oh man.
That's how I felt about the Fenrir, because it looked like it was straight up the Buster Sword, and then it ended up being like,
well, that's kind of like a trope with a lot of RPGs though. Like whatever sword they're using on the front cover, that's like the worst sword in the game. You're like, no, like that's supposed to be the best sword in the game, not like the cheapy sword.
Yeah.
So
to the benefit of this game also, you could switch between Keyblades mid-combat. So when you're like hitting around, like right when before you beat the boss, switch to the Kingdom Key.
That's exactly what I did. Yeah. I'm like beating them up with like the Nano Gear or whatever from Big Hero 6. And then I switch immediately to the Kingdom Key. I'm like, yes, now it looks good in the cutscene.
Sora just decided to transition Keyblade at the last hit.
Yeah.
Just to show off.
It was weird for me too, because I used the Pirate's Keyblade all the way up until you get, I can't even remember the name of the place. So Scala ad
Kylum.
Kylum, right?
Hmm.
And when they got to that point, I'm like, okay, I'm going out. I'm getting myself at least a better Keyblade. Then I look at the list online, and there's like no other much better looking Keyblade for this than the original one. So I'm like, all right, I'm going to go out and get the Ultima weapon real quick.
Oh,
Got that with like 2 nights of playing the game, and then I got that. That was really easy too.
Yeah. So, well, no wonder like some of the later bosses though you didn't really have trouble with because you
mhm.
went and you got that ultimate weapon.
Eh, I didn't know how hard they'd be. I didn't know. I didn't know they'd be. I didn't know that super boss would be a pushover. I mean that's something this game seriously needs. We need a. I mean, I understand Kingdom Hearts 2 only had like Sephiroth as a final
Mhm.
boss before the final mix, but we really need a final mix for Kingdom Hearts 3.
Yeah.
We need
And
like we need like something like the Organization 13
right.
rounds again. I don't know what they'll do for Kingdom Hearts 3, but I mean, we really need something like that. Just something that just completely tests the limits of the game's mechanics.
I
Because
think I think something that could benefit the game is having added bosses that are like one-on-one fights, you know? Because I mean, that way you can have that like learning the patterns, and getting better at that boss fight. Something similar to Sephiroth or Lingering Will or even to an extent, I mean, I guess the one from this game, the what is it Dark Inferno or whatever. And but
Hmm.
number 14 fight.
yeah. So I mean, if there were more one-on-one fights, I think that'd be more compelling. Because but the thing is though, with this game, even that wouldn't be that challenging because of all the stuff you have. Um,
Yeah.
I don't know. It's
The
hard.
one versus one fights are the more harder ones in this game because Aqua, when you fought her, the
Mhm.
Dark Aqua, she was actually, I thought, one of the harder bosses. I really needed to, play conservative and use my guard more often. Like,
I
I
had
wanted more
to
fights like that.
Mhm.
see. So for me, okay, the first boss that I actually died on, I had to retry was early in the beginning, and I think it was because I was still getting used to the game. Was when you had the on Olympus, you had like the tornado boss that was like sucking you up and shooting you out. I don't know why
Right.
I died, but like I think I was just like really impressed that this was all like seamless and like it was just like
Right.
so over the top that I was just kind of like taking it in. But after that, I didn't really struggle at all with any of the bosses until we got to I think it was called Anti Aqua or Dark Aqua or whatever.
Yeah.
That one, like I'm not gonna lie, I think I had to try that like 3 times to get through it. I struggled with that one. That was a good
Uh,
boss fight.
yeah. So I think that's something that should be added more one-on-one fights. Um, because I think that's part of why a lot of people loved Kingdom Hearts 2 Final Mix was with the one-on-one fights you can learn the mechanics of the game with the combat and like kind of like study how it works and when to use guard, when to use reflect, when to parry the attack and whatnot. So I don't know how well that'd be implemented in 3 though, because you have like the attractions, the transformations, the crazy what is it, the grand magic and all that. So
Mm,
I think it wouldn't be that I guess that tight in the sense of like having like time to like study the moves of the opponent.
mhm.
Because it's just like flashy attacks over and over. So
Yeah.
Yeah, think about it. You know, it'd actually be a really good idea for like a super boss in this game.
mm,
Have it be in the Toy Story world, but have it like have it where you can go inside the Verum Rex again,
mm.
but this time you're fighting the main character. So
Oh,
it can be
That'd be
like
pretty cool.
it can be kind of like a hint of what's to come in
Yosora.
Kingdom Hearts 4.
Mhm.
So it's similar to how Lingering Will was in 2. We wondered
Right.
who he was, and then we eventually find out it's Terra or Terra's Will.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, or something of the rather.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But something like that would be really cool. Make that like a really super boss. Like if you beat it, post it on the internet that you beat it, type of
Mhm.
deal, and just maybe like have other one-on-one fights that are just really hard. Maybe similar to Cavern of something into.
Yeah.
I can appreciate that need for the challenge, but like at the end of the day, I found that I enjoyed myself, and I
Mhm.
mean, so I get an A for the fun factor. Maybe it's not as satisfying though as it could be.
No,
Yeah.
that's very true. The game is very fun regardless of that.
Right.
Like every swing you take at an enemy feels really good. But Erica actually pointed out, and that's actually something uh, that I did also, is that I got really bored of the attraction attacks to the point that I was skipping them. Like
Mm.
I like pretty much when I got halfway through the game, I just stopped using them.
Yeah,
Like I would use the Donald and Goofy one or the Disney special guest one, but
Right.
I would I would just avoid the attractions unless I like in a scenario where it'd be really convenient to get rid of all these
Mhm.
enemies with it. But and I never really used the shot lock much either. It's useful, it's handy, but for some reason, like my mind never clicked to hold on to the R1 button to use the shot lock. Did
Yeah.
you guys use that much?
I think I used it when there were multiple enemies mostly, which
yeah, me too.
I think in this game they kind of like pushed that a lot more. With
Hmm.
like boss fights, like there'll be the main boss, but then smaller heartless, helping them out or whatever. So which I think kind of was so that we would use shot lock or like something that would be used for crowd control, which is different than like bosses before where it was like one on one, you know.
Yeah,
So I think that was their goal, was to have us use everything.
Yeah. They have used a little bit of everything of the past Kingdom Hearts. It's like they made each one experimented, took what worked and took it out, like Birth by Sleep put the shot lock and the transformations, and then Dream Drop Distance with the flow motion. That's another thing I didn't use often.
Hmm.
Flow motion. Unless I, in a scenario where I needed it, like the frozen ice cave or
Right.
ice labyrinth area.
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah. Um, Speaking of which, we could talk about this all day. How did you guys feel about the gummy portions of the game? Did you all enjoy that, or
Yes and no.
really? I found it immensely frustrating personally. Usually because I just wanted to get to where I was going, and I don't know. Riconius, was it nostalgic for you to ride in that gummy ship, or could you have done without it?
I think for me, I absolutely loved. I really did enjoy the gummy ship. In Kingdom Hearts 2, I really liked how it was just it was improved. It was an improvement on what Kingdom Hearts 1 did,
Hmm.
where it really felt like it was, like a Star Fox game, like the rail
Yeah.
shooter and whatnot. With this game, I enjoyed the open space because I'm a sucker for open worlds
Hmm.
in games.
Yeah.
So like, and also I'm a sucker for like space combat and like with Star Wars, I love the war aspect of it.
Hmm.
Um, just spaceships, flying around shooting each
Spaceships
other.
are cool. Yeah.
Right. So like in this game where it's both open world and there's the space combat,
Hmm.
I was a sucker for that. But then after a while, once I had like gotten all the treasures and I haven't finished all the bosses because I'm still waiting because um, I'm planning something with the Ultimate Weapon materials and whatnot. So,
Hmm.
but with everything else, like once I did that, I think I kind of lost interest until after I beat the game. I went back and I actually started building new gummy ships.
Mm.
So that's where the fun came in for me with the gummy ship is like the builder now, where
Yeah.
it's I don't know, it's just fun. Like I made an R-wing from Star Fox. I made a Millennium Falcon. Like
Yeah.
it's fun. But yeah, I mean, it wasn't like the thing is, I've heard a lot of people say that it was distracting for them,
Hmm.
but I don't know. I think I've probably just gotten used to it. Like, okay, yeah, this is how Kingdom Hearts works. You go from world to world, and how would Sora go to another world? The gummy ship. So I kind of excused it, but it was still like not. I don't know. I liked it.
Yeah, I mean, I had fun with it at times, but to me, it was usually just it felt like an obstacle to overcome. I would see my marker, but I would like end up, it would. I would go through the little vortex thing, and it would like spit me out farther from my marker, and then I'd get stuck in like a boss fight or something. Or it just felt weird to me that uh, it seemed like part of the challenge was that the gummy ship has like terrible controls. And then over time you can improve the controls and it gets a little bit smoother of an experience. I would have preferred maybe some more like obstacles that you maybe needed a special piece or a component to get through with real tight controls from the beginning. But I don't know, that's just me. It wasn't a deal breaker for me, but I didn't look forward to it, let's put it that way. But Eric, what'd you think?
I think what they set out to do worked out really well. They did a fantastic job of like doing exploration, and as someone who had to beat the Omega Gummy to get the last piece for the ultimate weapon, I
Mhm.
mean, it was pretty fun. Uh, I liked it for the most part. A lot of parts were really easy if you knew which parts to put on, but
Well,
and
you know what
finding
it
all the constellations was pretty cool also. But having said that, as
Sure.
someone who is a major Star Fox fan, like
Mm-hmm.
that's one of my favorite franchises ever. I loved how they did it in Kingdom Hearts 2. I just love the on rail, going really fast. Things are just going crazy. Like
Right.
especially like the one when you go into back to Twilight Town. And that one, I love that.
Mhm.
Um, but I can't say one is really better than the other because even the second one had its own set of flaws. But I think the third one gave you the most reason to make a customizable chip. Like
Hmm.
just the nature of it. Like you want to get there faster. Like Kingdom Hearts 1, you were only motivated really to get the faster jet engines on just so you can get it over with more. But this and the second one, you could just use blueprints and
Right.
just get right through it. But in the third game, despite even having blueprints, like you are much better off finding the more powerful pieces because if you try to fight Omega without at least the Faraga, Blizzaga, or Thundaga gummies, that fight would take forever, and that thing hits like a truck. Like unless you have found like the ideal gummy pieces. So there's reason to go out and explore, find this stuff, and I think that makes it very fun and compelling for people who like these open world space like games.
The exploration aspect of it, yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I think I guess the best way to put it from my perspective, the thing that I didn't really attract me to it was a lot of the fights that I got into. A lot of it seemed like it was just a war of attrition, like
Mm.
just stay alive long enough and keep firing, and and like it would be like 10 minutes long, and it was just please God end so I can so I can keep going. But
Right.
yeah, I can totally get it. Like if you're really into the exploration aspect, what's around that meteor, or whatever, or the asteroid, what's over there, what's this enemy like, what kind of treasures can I find? It can probably be a lot of fun, but I think it comes down to some preference for sure.
And there was a neat Easter egg too. If you explored near the Caribbean, you can see the giant like ghost pirate ship gummy thing from Kingdom Hearts 2 that you fought. And it's like wrecked and you see like pieces of it, like the that metal jaw piece from the ship and then like the main mast from the ship, and it was pretty cool to
Mhm.
see that. But yeah, I think because even with the exploration, like once you have found everything, it's just build gummies for the heck of it.
Yeah. So I
Yeah.
mean, there's a creative aspect to it that can be fun.
Mhm.
I think my favorite gummy I've seen online so far is that meme that people made before the game came out with Donald Duck with a handgun?
Yeah.
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 And someone actually recreated the entire hand with the handgun for the
Oh
gummy
wow,
ship.
Gosh,
I haven't
Oh
seen that.
man, that one was fantastic. I was like, I wanted to clap to whoever made that or just post like, who did this?
it's amazing.
Yeah.
But yeah, I would say this is probably technically the best the Gummy ship has ever been. But I kind of wish at the same time, just as a Star Fox fan, not
Mhm.
saying this is bad, as a Star Fox fan, I wish they would have gone further with the on rail shooter type of deal.
Hmm.
See, I would have preferred that. I like that aspect of it. Like I know where I'm going. Like I can see the obstacle in front of me. I can react to that. There's not all these tangents for me to get sidetracked on. But
Mhm.
I guess like I said, it comes down to preference.
And the good thing is also, if you didn't really want to do Gummy ship, like the basic blueprints that you get dropped on the way to each world is like good enough to fight like the 4 mandatory Gummy
Right.
ship bosses there are in this game. So if you didn't care for it, it's like, that you only got to do the bare minimum to get through.
Mhm.
So
Yeah.
pretty nice they structured it like that.
Mm-hmm. Was there anything else you guys want to touch on with the gameplay, or did you want to just jump into some of the Disney and Pixar worlds?
I'd say there was something
Yeah, go ahead.
that did
Sure.
kind of like bother me was, I mean, I thought it was fine because I mean it's a new thing to Kingdom Hearts, but like
Mhm.
finding the ingredients
Oh yeah, we didn't even touch on that. Yeah.
and then the lucky emblems, like those were amazing. I loved finding them. They were creative, a lot of them. But I think the whole kind of like FF15 aspect of like, everywhere you go, Donald or Goofy is just like, this looks like a good spot to find ingredients, stuff
I
like
was
that.
just waiting for like Ignis to
Sounds
pop up.
like Olaf.
A
How many
new
times?
recipe.
A new recipe.
The one that really got to me was Olaf.
Hmm.
Remember we're looking for Olaf parts.
Oh,
And then
Oh
Donald
yeah.
is constantly like, that sounds like Olaf, and like
I'm over here.
I can like yeah, you can't tell what direction that he's saying that from because the game isn't like doing something like the hear it more on the right or the left. And
Right.
like and every time he does that, every 15 seconds, Donald has to keep responding back with, that sounds like Olaf. I'm
Donald
like,
just has the
I
worst
swear to God.
suggestions. Donald just has the worst like during that part of the game, right? Like I was just not a good person for Donald to be around because Donald kept saying like, "Oh, this looks like this is part of Olaf." And then I would
Yeah.
like look at it and I'd be like, "This
No.
thing's like 9 times as big as Olaf. This is not part of Olaf." But you're saying it is, so okay, maybe it like magically turns small.
Right.
And then of course it wouldn't be for Olaf. I'm like, "Donald, you're a moron. Like why
And
stop?"
I think that is like going back to like the audio where like when those moments happened, there wasn't a change in like how soft it was or how loud it was. It was just the same volume every time. So it's like, oh, the voice Olaf's voice is getting louder. It's like, no, it's not. Like, which direction is he in? Like,
Yeah.
makes no sense. But
I'll definitely name something I was really disappointed didn't get made into this game, and it's really weird that there isn't one.
mhm.
Is that we did not get another Coliseum type deal, and we had the
Right.
golden opportunity to have a Coliseum in the heavens where the gods are.
Mhm.
That would have been amazing because we had one like on Earth, and then we had one in the underworld. It would have been poetic to have it up in the heavens.
And I was expecting that area in the apex where you fought the Titans, that like later on that would be converted into like that tournament like gameplay thing, like that Coliseum. But the battle gates were, I guess, the replacement
I
in a way.
mean, how
But
hard would it be to have just Zeus be like, "Hey, I decided to open up a Coliseum for the hell of it," and then just have like a series of 50 like rounds, and then just get like a special keyblade at the end of it or something. I can't imagine that
right.
would have been too hard to implement.
That is surprising they didn't do something like that. You are right. That would have been, I don't want to say easy to do, but that would have been a no-brainer for sure.
Hmm.
Yeah, you got the arena, you got the boss fights, but I mean, then again, I guess it would be
Yeah.
hard to put enough unique boss fights in because you took every Final Fantasy character out of the story.
Ouch.
So
Well, there was that statue of Oron in like one of the cutscenes, right?
Yeah, Cloud and Auron, which I thought that was interesting. How like they kind of did play into the canon of that specific world, where it's like
Mhm.
Hades tried this before, and it's like, oh, that's what that was. It was the
Yeah.
same plan, and yeah, so I thought that was interesting.
apparently Zach
But
got left out of that flashback. But
dude, don't remind me, Zach. Oh man, Zach Fair. I wanted closure for him in like Kingdom Hearts because like I don't know, whatever. He didn't become a hero yet or whatever, and I don't know.
It's funny because Nomura was all about like I don't think this franchise needs Final Fantasy characters anymore. Then like the fans lash back and say, "Well, yeah, we technically don't need them anymore, but we still want them." And
Right.
then then Nomura's like, "Oh, well, whoops. Well, too late."
Well, we kind of
Maybe
have
maybe
not
next one.
we kind of knocked this in this game, right? I mean, like,
Yeah, Yozora, which I mean, we could get to like later when we get to
yeah,
that
sure,
because
Yeah.
I have
yeah,
thoughts. But yeah,
Hmm.
anyway.
I guess it's a nice time to transition. Then I think we said we
kind
can
of
about the gameplay for now.
milk the gameplay out. Yeah, if we think of something else, we can come back to it.
Mhm.
So Disney Pixar worlds, like that side of the game. What were some of your guys' favorite worlds? Like, which one would you say is your top choice if you had to pick one?
I have a tough choice between Monsters Inc. and Toy Story.
See,
Hmm.
I kind of have an odd pick. I liked the Tangled one, honestly. Um, that's mostly because I just really thought the story was pretty good in that one. Even though it kind of followed the same premise, I just enjoyed it. But why did you enjoy the Toy Story and the Monsters Inc. one so much?
Because they actually felt like Sora was actually important to it, and like it wasn't trying to retread on the movie that they're based on. It was like just like a whole new thing. Like the Toy Story one is like just obviously takes place after one, and it's it's not trying to do retreads in the movie. It's just trying to do a new thing, and it's just like scenarios like what would Woody and Buzz do in this scenario with Sora, or the same thing with Monsters Inc. where uh it's like Randall coming back, but it's not like actually like just trying to retread the movie. It gives references to the
Mhm.
previous movies. And the thing I have a problem, and even San Francisco to an extent, Big Hero 6, but
Mhm.
still
Mhm.
like kind of like a sequel also. The reason I don't really hold high for Tangled or Frozen is because Sora's just kind of there. Like the movies are happening, but
Mhm.
Sora and his gang have little to no involvement in it. Like you're fighting bosses in the back, and it's cool that you have like the ice giant come with you, but and I like the worlds to an extent, but I never really cared for when they tried too hard to work Sora and his gang into an established story, especially in this case where his contribution was little to none
See,
notable.
I didn't like the Frozen world just for the reason that you just specified. Because I mean, we barely even talked with the main character of the movie, right? Like, it was kind of strange, and just like all I did was go through some massive ice dungeon, and I don't know, I didn't really feel like I had an effect on the world. I get what you're saying with Tangled as well, because that's kind of a similar deal, although you're a little bit more involved. I think with that, I think just the story sequences made me laugh, and like I just
Mhm.
enjoyed it for that reason. Um, I was tempted to pick Toy Story personally, but I think that like I liked it, but I felt like there was aspects to that story that just like felt off to me. So, for example, when you arrive there, you know defeat the Heartless, and you have all these scenes with Woody and Buzz and everyone, and there's specific toys that are in those scenes. Um, that like the dinosaur and the pig, I can't remember their names from the movies, but that are there, and you're talking with them, etc., and they say, hey, some of the toys have been stolen, we need to go rescue them. So then you go to rescue them, and then you get to the toy store, and for some reason, like, all of a sudden you're like, oh, like Rex, the T-Rex, and the pig have been stolen too. And I'm like, when did we realize this? I went back and watched some of the cutscenes on YouTube, and like there was like, it felt like there was like missing scenes where like they apparently were stolen or went missing, and so
Mhm.
some of it felt a little rushed to me. But I did think it was really cool that they basically made like their own little story sequence out of this that was like separate from the movie. That was really cool.
Yeah, absolutely. I think the Pirates world was kind of guilty of this too, but good thing like it's just so cool that like I didn't even really mind that we didn't get like any of the story elements. Like the whole thing like with like Davy Jones is happening, and the first time Sora actually meets Davy Jones, he's like goes off and we have to fight him. I'm like everything just felt messy at that point. But I had a certain level of enjoyment with every world. just seeing how well things were animated. Like, I want to just get this out of the way right now. Just like graphically, the
Mhm.
3D animated movies in particular, they are so ridiculously close that
Yeah,
you could mistake them from the movie.
it's amazing how far it's come along. It looked really really good.
They're so ridiculously good looking. Olympus Coliseum's a little weird looking just because it's a 2D movie being transitioned to 3D, but the rest of them, even Pirates of the Caribbean looks like a AAA Pirates game.
Right.
It's insane how great the Unreal 4 engine was. But what were your favorite worlds, Riconius?
I think, man, this is hard because it's a tie. So for me, my favorite Disney movie, animated movie, is Hercules. So like for a while there was like this bias there where Olympus was my favorite world, but then looking back, I think taking into account the stories of each world and also the visual aspect, I think that I don't know. Oh man, it's hard. It might be either Toy Box or the Caribbean. And with the Caribbean, it's because it looks beautiful. It's a huge world, and I mean, again, I'm a sucker for like pirates, and like being able to explore. It was essentially, I was telling my friend this. It was essentially like a better, not better. I don't know because there was so much more in that game. But like Assassin's Creed 4, Black Flag.
Mhm.
Like it felt like a similar pirate game to that
Yeah, it definitely did.
where yeah, and I think that plus the visuals, just how beautiful it looked,
Mhm.
and the Unreal Engine, like the like even like like the dirt on their faces, Donald having feathers, Goofy having fur, which is kind of creepy, but still really cool.
Yeah.
And then there was that one cutscene where we even get to see one of the moments where Sora isn't a one-noted character, and like how when Davy Jones stabs William Turner, and then Sora just like lets go, and like there's this outburst, and he's like just yelling, and he's angry, and he starts punching Davy Jones. I'm like, whoa, I've never seen Sora do that, and it's so cool.
Yeah.
Um, and then going to Toy Box, it just felt like I was in a Toy Story movie, and it was great. Like the textures of the toys, like they look like plastic if they're plastic,
Mhm.
um, and then the uh, just even the story, like knowing that this does take place between I think Toy Story 2 and 3, and how this might like even though I don't think it's canon, but like how it's like
It could
treated
be.
as yeah, it's
Yeah.
it's treated like it is, and
Yeah.
even though it involves like Xehanort,
Yeah.
um, and then
I
I think for me like the again yeah with like the Frozen world for me like Frozen the movie itself I wasn't really that big of a fan of. I wasn't. I don't know. It I really love its theme. Like how the act of true love isn't necessarily just a romantic gesture like a kiss or anything, but
Sure.
there's that the true love between the siblings, and so there's that aspect of the world. But then or the movie I mean, and but like I think the world in the game suffered from this too, where like the environment it's just snow everywhere looks the same. Like there's no I don't know. There
Yep.
wasn't that much of a unique. Um,
We didn't get to go inside the ice palace.
That was
right,
disappointing. Yeah.
right.
That would have given a little more variety.
And if you go to revisit, you can like walk up the stairs that lead to the doors, and it's like kind of like teasing you, like, "Hey, you want to go inside? Too bad, no, you can't do that." But
Not
yeah,
this round. Yeah.
yeah. The ice labyrinth was kind of cool, but then also after a while, each corridor felt the same.
Yeah.
So I don't know, which I think is the point. It's a labyrinth.
I was really surprised when like that whole sequence of events for us to get to that point where she brought up the ice from cubes from like the wall, and like she's like putting it around Sora, and then she makes
Hmm.
like a like an ice cavern out of it. I thought, okay, like the amount of ice that I saw being moved, like this cavern is probably like really small. Like it ended up being this like gigantic fortress. I was like, Jesus, where did she get that much ice from? Like
Magic.
Yeah, I guess
I
so,
don't know.
huh?
Yeah.
Funny, when I was going through that world, I was actually more agreeing with Larkstein that like you need to stop imposing yourself on
Right.
her so much, and like you need to just let her do her thing.
Let it go.
Like, yeah, essentially.
Mhm.
And like Sora was like, "Nah, I need to go. I need to go save her." And then like there's a part where like Larkstein says something, and like Sora's like, "She would never do that." It's like, Sora, you've only known her for 5 minutes.
Yeah, that was a little awkward.
Yeah.
He had a lot of confidence in her, man. Come on.
And I will say also, I think Kingdom of Corona, the Tangled World, was also really good, like aesthetically,
Mhm.
because like uh, there was like I think it was like a documentary that released recently where it talks about the development of the game and how for these Disney worlds this time around, Disney actually gave Square the original assets from the movies. So like
Mm.
that's why that area where Rapunzel's tower is legitimately like the same, like one to one like area from the movie, like the same
Oh wow.
models and
I
everything.
didn't realize that. That makes a lot of sense.
And yeah, and that's why like it just felt so genuine and like it I don't know, I just felt like I was in the movie and that was really cool. So I mean, I
Yep.
think yeah, I'd say like with like Arendelle like being like at the bottom of the list,
Mhm.
I'd say the rest of them I had a lot of fun with. Like San Francisco, there wasn't there wasn't that much content with that world, but just being able to be in that city and how good it looks, I don't know, I like that, and I
Well,
like that movie too.
and it was a
So,
lot of fun to be able to have so many buildings to be able to climb up and like jump
yeah,
off of. Like it was a lot of fun to explore. So maybe not so much from the story aspect of that world, but definitely
right.
from the explorability of that world. It was a lot of fun.
You know, it was always my main complaint about Disney worlds, and they completely solved that with Kingdom Hearts 3. And granted, it's limitations of the PS2,
Mhm.
so I understand, but NPCs in these
Mm.
worlds make it feel so much more lively. When you go into the actual Kingdom of Corona,
Mhm.
like all those NPCs around you walking past, you hear people talking as you go by. Like that was so immersive. I loved every moment of that. I'm like, I want to stay here for a while. Like,
Right.
I want to see what's going on. Like, I go explore the docks. I see what's going on. I find an emblem while I'm over there, and like, it was just so beautiful. And like Twilight Town, also, like
Mhm.
Twilight, it's like, oh yeah,
Yeah,
people
that was
live
a
here.
highlight. Yeah.
Not just like the item shop
Right.
owner and Cypher's gang. It's like it's an actual town. Got the
Yeah.
bistro. It's got Scrooge the rat. It's got all these just random people scattered about.
Right. Like,
It's
I've
so great.
seen yeah, I've seen, like, a few people within, like, the Kingdom Hearts, community where they have complaints of how, like, Twilight Town was so small compared to what it was previously, but I think with the NPCs there and just how it's used as the hub world this time around,
Hmm.
I think it was a pretty good compromise to, like, let go of the rest of the world from the previous game, but then have, like, so much more um I guess believability, and
Hmm.
immersion with the NPCs there. And you overhear them like they mention like, oh, Cypher took Fu and Rai to like some thing. I don't know what they said, but that was cool because that's
Yeah.
neat. You get to hear like, oh, so that's where they are, and it makes sense too because it follows this pattern where like Kingdom Hearts 1, the last world is Hollow Bastion. Kingdom Hearts 2, the hub world in the beginning that's small is Hollow Bastion. Kingdom Hearts 3, or Kingdom Hearts 2, Twilight Town was the first world. Kingdom Hearts 3, now it's the hub world, and
Hmm.
or
Mhm.
no, I mean Twilight Town is the technically like the last world in KH2 because that's where you go to the world that never was. It's like through Twilight Town.
I thought it was funny
But
that when they said go to the mansion, the first thing I looked for was the crack in the wall,
right, yeah.
and it actually turned out they fixed it. So I'm like, crap, where do I go? So I actually had to go through like the train or like the underground thing.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Um, if I do have to say one thing in Twilight Town I was disappointed by, they built up the idea that we may visit the data version of it,
Mm,
but we never actually got that to happen.
right. I was
Like
expecting that
we got
too.
Pence working on that, and then we never reported back to him. Be like, "Hey, Pence, did you figure out anything yet?"
Hmm.
He probably figured it out, and he just never got back with him.
Yeah, because I think that would have been cool. Because then maybe that's how they could implement the entire world and the whole town.
Mhm.
But yeah, I think that was that was a bit of a letdown at first, where immediately once you arrive at Twilight Town, I wanted to turn around and go up the hill, and I couldn't. It was like return to world map. I'm like, no, and I kept doing that over and over. I'm like, no, I don't want to go. But it's all right. I mean, the NPCs kind of make up for it for me.
Yeah,
So
I think
Yeah.
the one thing is another thing is like Kingdom Hearts 2 and Chain of Memories before that. Twilight Town always seemed like mysterious and looming and like just uh like you don't really know what's going on with this town. You kind of question if it's real sometimes. And that's
mm,
especially explored in the data version. But like when you visit in this world, it's like, oh wait, no, it is actually just a normal city. It's got people and everything. And I'm glad it's like that.
hmm,
But it did take away that little sense of mystery, but I guess that was never I guess much the intent to begin with.
right.
So but that's all good.
Yeah.
I thought that may have been, like the whole data thing may have been an opportunity for them to figure out how to get Roxas out of Sora because I think Roxas would be emotional enough to rip himself out of Sora and just want to talk to his friends again. But
Hmm.
um, no, it's but like I said, besides that, the whole town was great. I liked it as a hub world.
Yeah.
Hmm.
If we can jump right back to the Pirates of the Caribbean again, because I remember something I wanted to bring up. Did anybody, was it just me, but was anybody surprised by the the spin that like Jack Sparrow was just like a clone? Because like I didn't expect that, and it was kind of bizarre to me.
Someone remind me, or whoever. I saw the movies when they first came out.
Did they do that in the
Yeah,
movies?
Did they do that in the movies?
I think they did, and
Because I don't think I saw that one, so I was just like that's a stupid plot point.
yeah, it was based off of At World's End. That's the third movie,
Okay.
and I think they did because I remember the white crabs specifically. Like
Well,
Jack
I'm
was
yeah.
dead, and then the crabs were there, and I think I think that was something that happened in the movie.
Because I remember like I remember seeing scenes like on like trailers and stuff with the ship sailing in the sand and everything like that.
Right.
But I wasn't sure if that was actually from the movie or if that was something they added in there. But yeah, I it was that whole plot line was kind of a bizarre a sequence of events. But I had a lot of fun exploring.
I will
Mhm.
say that world is very PG-13. Like the part, like the part where they open up the chest that has Davy Jones' heart.
Right.
Like,
Hmm.
I was thinking they're going to open up and like the typical Kingdom Hearts like heart comes up or something like that. No, it was a straight out real heart, and Jack
Yeah.
Sparrow stabs it.
Well, I
And
think, but the thing is, though, the
Sora
shot.
is just looking at in shock, like
Yeah, but I think like the shot was like it kind of
Sora's never
censored it.
seen anything like that. Yeah.
It kind of like censored it, like where you see Jack like he's about to stab the heart in it, but like you don't see, like, you just see like the outside of the chest, and then he's like holding it, and there's like a heart in there. Like if like if you've been paying attention to the story, and then, but I don't think they ever showed the actual heart. But I think what's funny is like they didn't show him stab William Turner. Like you didn't see the actual stabbing of William Turner, but
Hmm.
like you hear like you hear the stabbing sound effect. Like I'm like, whoa, chill.
It just
Like
went right
what?
in there.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and then and I think that was pretty cool because again, that's like when you see Sora like just get pissed, and I'm like, dude, this is awesome. Like this
Sora
is like something I wanted to see for a long time.
should have been like, that's not a heart. What is that? But
yeah, that was
um,
crazy. And the world ended on a bittersweet note too. He wasn't able to save Turner.
Mhm.
Jack Sparrow goes off and does his thing. Uh, I forgot the girl's name.
Elizabeth.
Elizabeth. Yeah, she becomes king of the pirates. Stuff like that.
Right.
It kind of ends well, but the story ends with the pirates coming around and killing like the armada or like the British ship, and like they're killing them. It's not like taking they're not taking the Keyblade and just like releasing their heart. They're straight out
like it's just like a
them.
genocide. Yeah.
And then there's Sora and Donald and Goofy. They're like, yeah.
Oh, I think that was the other thing too. Was like the part where they're like something like hoist the colors or whatever, and then like it's with the accent, like the pirate accent and everything, like hoist the colors, and Sora is like hoist the colors. I'm like, oh my.
Haley.
Like this is too much, man. But I mean, but I think I enjoyed a lot of it, and like with that, like they are straight up killing all of those men like on that ship. Like what?
Well, it is strange because Eric did say like this whole section could have been PG-13, right? But I mean, when you go back and look at like Tangled, like I'm remembering when like Flynn is like stabbed in like the back, and I'm like, where's the stab wound? Like he looks perfect. There's no cut in his
there was no blood on the
yeah, it was very very strange. So I was definitely surprised when we jumped into the Pirates world that it was like, nope, we're going a full 180. We're slaughtering all these people. We're showing hearts.
No blood in the game.
Yeah,
at all.
They walked the line, I think, with that world for sure.
Yeah, they're like, I'm sure if they showed like a speck of blood, they would have to jump the rating.
Rating teen.
Yeah. And I was thinking, because on the rating it mentions like alcoholic references, and at first I assumed, I guess because Jack Sparrow and the pirates and whatnot, but I think it was just like I don't know if you can cook with like wine or something with the bistro. That might be it.
Reference and fantasy violence.
Yeah, so I don't know what was the alcohol like. No, I feel like I was cheated, man. Like,
was it like an ingredient?
Yeah, that's what I was thinking now, but I mean,
that must have been what it is. Yeah,
or they mentioned rum and pirates.
Oh, they probably do. Yeah,
there's probably like rum barrels hanging around.
I feel like they almost should not have put that on the rating reference, because now like people see alcohol, they're like go out of their way to try to find it. I didn't even know it was in there. Yeah. So
imagine being the child, like the child of a parent that won't let you play Kingdom Hearts just because it has like some alcohol references. Everything else is fine, but that's just overdoing it.
That's why I cross the line. They slaughter people, and like you see like you see people's chests explode, and like, but no, alcohol is that's the issue.
Yeah, I'm surprised Disney didn't have an issue with that scene though.
Well, I mean, they made the movie, so.
Well, I know, but the fact that like they're gonna have like their Donald and Goofy just like woo, let's like no, let's put some berries here, guys. Like let's have them off the screen somewhere.
I'm surprised Square went through with that. That makes it out of character for Sora, Donald, and Goofy. It would have made sense if they like weren't on the pirate ship and they leave. And that's like a cutscene that you see after they leave.
Yeah.
Or something like that. But like they're on there cheering on and like excited that they just killed like a army of men on a giant boat.
But they were bad men, so it's okay.
Yeah, it's okay. Yeah, I mean, it's just, I don't know.
All of them were bad. Yeah.
The other thing too was like, it was surprising because, I mean, even with like Mickey Mouse, like having him fail, like Aqua pointing out, like, you left me here, you abandoned me, and like the fact that they kind of like allowed that to happen, where Mickey did mess up, like he did something terribly wrong like that, and I don't know, I thought that was interesting. Like that felt like it was breaking the rules, because I know they're like heavy rules that Disney has for how to use Mickey. So for him specifically to screw up like that, like I'm like, that was interesting. But yeah,
I guess he's rectifying it, because I guess he's made mistakes in other movies like Fantasia. He opened up the book and like all the water's going out and he's trying to fix it. And I guess he can make that excuse, but
well, I mean, that's different from like
it is a little darker in terms of
like abandoning somebody.
Yeah, and like leaving Aqua's soul to be consumed by like darkness.
Yeah. On a side note, I found, and we kind of mentioned this in a previous podcast episode, but I found every scene ever with Mickey in it almost always like it just made me laugh or awkward, because like it would be a very serious scene and he's just like, I know, guys, what do you think? And like it's just like, what are you doing, dude? No. And like he's always permanently smiling. Even
Yeah.
like at the end, he's like, "No, Sora, don't go." And he's like got this huge grin. I'm
Mm.
like it's
My
just
my favorite part is I think in Kingdom Hearts 2 where like they're looking at this portrait of Zayn or whatever, and then you hear, "Hey fellas, did somebody mention the door to darkness?" And it just like zoom.
Dun, dun, dun.
It just cuts to Mickey and just you see his face in his dark hood, and it's just like dun 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 dun. Like
it's
Oh
just
man, even when
super
I was
creepy.
16 when that came out, I was still laughing
it's
at that. I was
hilarious.
like him and just in that little coat. But in
They're
terms of
gonna pay for
Mickey
this.
in Kingdom Hearts 3,
Hmm.
the guy who does the voice for him doesn't really do a good job. And I know
Hmm.
the person who voiced him in 2 is dead
Yeah, yeah.
in real life. So this is the guy who replaced him. The problem I have with this Mickey is he sounds like Mickey, but he doesn't have a range of emotions like Mickey. He only has that one, uh-huh. It's like I'm Mickey Mouse. Like that
Hmm.
type of deal, but he
Well,
doesn't he doesn't really express like when he's angry or something.
mhm.
But even in Kingdom Hearts 2, like when we
Hmm.
thought Goofy died,
Right.
it's like
They're
he has
gonna
that.
pay for this.
Yeah, exactly. Like he has that, but he
Hmm.
never really goes in that range
Hmm.
in the third game or like any or really any game after 2.
Yeah. Well, I mean, to be fair though, like that is a very small child's cartoon. So,
Hmm.
I mean, you can't. It's a lot to expect from a voice like that to have like a wide range of emotions. I think, but it would be nice though if they found a way to kind of express that a little bit more.
Yeah, I mean we have Goofy and Donald to do it just fine.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, they're doing a good job in this game.
Well, I think at least with Goofy and Donald, like they're not permanently smiling all the time. So
Mm,
like they can express a lot of emotion in their facial expressions and everything like that.
right.
Whereas Mickey, he's got a very plastic face, and it's just like the only part you really get emotion in is the eyes.
Yeah,
So
because
it kind
his
of
resting face is a smile shape, so it's like, yeah, you can't do much with that,
yeah.
in comparison to those 2. Because with that, like, I mean, that's the thing that blew me away with this game was the chemistry between Sora, Donald, and Goofy in this game was just
Mhm.
outstanding. Like, they felt like real characters, like they had their own personalities, and it really came through in this game compared to the others, I think.
Most interactions with Sora, Donald, and Goofy are pretty great. That
Mhm.
they did it really well because, like in previous games, Sora, like in 2 in particular, Sora, like no, sorry, Donald and Goofy kind of felt like they were just there,
Mm.
like just along with stuff. But like in the third game, they're like really reacting with each other. Like Sora and Donald always getting like small little arguments, or like they're
Right.
saying something funny about Sora, and Sora's like, "Hey, cut that out."
And then, like, when it came full circle, because like, there was that whole argument, like, what was it? Like, we're half pints or whatever, something like that, and, like, it came full circle, like, at the end when, like, Donald tells Sora, "You're a whole pint all by yourself," and I was like, "Dude, that actually worked." Like, that emotional payoff actually worked for me, like, wow.
Yeah, because they were ripping on Sora enough in this game
Right,
for me
yeah.
to be like, you know what? I'm just going to go join the dark side just to screw all you over. Like I'm not taking this crap anymore. But then like
For
Riku
real.
would come in and be like, Sora, just don't go. And you're like, all right.
Yeah.
Like Sora's all determined, and all you need, like everyone there knows, like, okay, just have Riku talk to him. He'll stop doing it.
Yeah. Um, I think obviously we've kind of moved on into like the more Kingdom Hearts territory though. Like, how did you all feel about the general story structure and like did you feel satisfied with the Kingdom Hearts plot line? By Kingdom Hearts, I don't mean the Disney worlds. I mean the main, Organization 13 and all the stories that are kind of concluded up into this game. What did you all think about that in general?
I thought it was flawed, but I'm still very satisfied with how everything turned out.
Mm,
Mhm.
Like I enjoyed the story, and there's a lot of good moments,
yeah.
but of course, I mean Kingdom Hearts is famous, but the pacing just felt really off because you got the beginning of the game had the Kingdom Hearts stuff, and then you go through all the Disney World with like occasional little cutscenes in between each one.
Hmm.
But like nothing really major happens. Like all the major plot dump stuff that we've been waiting for, the answers
Yeah, it
that we've
happens
been
in
seeking happen
last
all
couple
at the end.
hours.
Like
Yeah.
everything just gets thrown at you at once. And I kind of wish they
Right.
just spread that around because what we get at the end is really good. I loved almost every moment of it. Like it was emotional, like you really care for the characters.
Hmm.
You want to stop Xehanort, but it's all at the end. And we just get like little things thrown out at us. I think like we should have been saving people like every time we beat like a major section of the world
Mm.
before we go to the next one. Like save one of the characters, like Aqua in the first one, and then like um we have to do something like explore. Like there's a section in the second world where she's like, "Okay, I'm ready. I'm back from. I'm all rested up. Let's go get Ventus." Like after we beat
Hmm.
like maybe like the Frozen world, and we get Ventus back. And I wish it kind of would have paced itself more like that, so we get like more answers while we're going through it, and then we get all the. And then of course, we get the biggest answers by the end.
Yeah.
Right.
But I just wanted this stuff happening while
I
going through it.
yeah, I just think like with me, I have mixed feelings on it because on like in general, I felt it felt odd to have these people like keep appearing in these worlds and they would be like, oh, ho, 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 like we're gonna like do this evil thing, and like then like
Yeah.
you beat the world, and then like it's just like, well, like why didn't you like just stop me then? And also like it felt weird to me that like you have like these 13 individuals, right, that are all like doing something separately on different worlds, but they don't actually really do anything until I arrive. So they're all like, it's like, well, I'm busy with this one guy. You could be doing your thing over here. Like, it's like, why did you wait until I got there to like start doing this? It felt a little, it just felt a little strange to me. And like Eric pointed out, the plot dump in the last 6 hours was a lot to uh, throw out there, and I was kind of confused with some of the character motivations. Like I said, I haven't played all the games. I tried to
Hmm.
watch a lot of videos and get caught up on what I needed to, but some of the motivations were a little strange to me. Like for example, like Larxene, like after she is after you defeat her, she's like, I
Right.
didn't want to do this anyways, and Sora's just like, well,
Yeah.
why did you do it? And she's like, I'm just along for the ride, and then she just disappears, and I'm like,
Mm.
what? What do you mean you're just along for the ride, right? And there might be some more subtext to that I'm unaware of, but I like certain scenes. Like it felt like a good payoff, but I wasn't the biggest fan of it either. So Riconius, what'd you think?
I think for the most part, I was satisfied with the resolutions for most of the characters. Um, I think my issues were with how some of the aspects of the lore was explained. Like, e- especially with like, so like there was a moment where I think Zemnis was speaking with Marluxia, Larxene, Luxord, and Demix, and like he mentioned, oh, you guys will reveal your the Keyblade legacy or whatever, and I'm like expecting to get that revelation near the end,
Hmm.
but it's like it's obviously one setting up the mobile game stuff, because they're adding more content to that, and
Yeah.
two,
Yeah.
like somehow setting up what might happen in the future with future titles. Because then there was also the moment where like Luxord gives Sora a card and he's like, "This could turn the tables," and I'm like, "Oh, are we going? Is that going to be something used later, like in the last fight?" Nope, it's something I don't know, maybe Kingdom Hearts 5.6. I don't know, but it's like those were the things I had issue with, and then again, there are a lot of things that were kind of left to the secret reports to explain.
Hmm.
Because even after the epilogue, it's explained more in the secret reports, like what might be going on there. But even then, it's just alluding to what might be going on. It's not really a straight answer. Um, but I think for the most part, having followed the series since like 2002 or whatever, whenever the first game came out. I've kind of been invested in the characters, and I want to know
Yeah.
like how things would end for them, how their stories would come to a close. And so for that, I was satisfied. Um, and even with how things ended, it was like it was something that definitely had emotional payoff. Like
Hmm.
I was pleased with how it did make me feel something. And so I'm glad it did that.
I think
Um,
that's a I think
yeah,
that's a good way to put it, like, because that's kind of what I got from it is if you've been following the series for the characters and you've been involved with the characters and you empathize with them
right.
and you enjoy these people, this would feel very satisfying because there's a lot of head nods and little Easter eggs left to kind of like not point towards previous games and kind of wrap things up in a very satisfying way. But when you start trying to draw the plot line out on the chalkboard, it might frustrate certain people that want like a real tight knit story, because
Right.
sometimes it feels like there's always an ace in the back pocket where like, well, he died or he's gone, but we still have this option, or oh, you thought this
Mhm.
person was no longer on the screen, but there's this thing that there's this other plan B that no one thought of. It just it at times it like made it was off putting for me to have so many plot twists and such, but
I think
it
Mhm.
might be a preference thing.
I think I still ultimately enjoyed this in the end, but the game never felt so much more fan servicey
Mm.
until the very end when absolutely everyone got saved
Mhm.
except Kyrie. But
Mhm.
Well,
but and, like everyone's
did.
at the beach and happy. But I'll get the
Right.
Kyrie
Right,
in a
right, right.
second. But everyone had a very nice resolution. Like we even got Shion back, we got Roxas
Mm.
back, we got Terra back, we got Ventus Aqua back, we got everyone back. Like everyone gets a happy ending.
Right.
Sayax is normal again. He's Issa and he's part of the group now. They're all
Mhm.
on the clock tower, and it's getting a little too crowded on that clock tower up there. I'm glad these characters have a resolution. I just feel like it just felt a little too fan servicey that way.
Mm.
Like maybe there could have been some reality checks, but it's the end of the Dark Secret Saga. Just go all out.
Right.
In terms of Kyrie, and Axel to a lesser extent, we get so much build up that these two
Mm.
are uh, Keyblade wielders in training. They're going to be
Mhm.
awesome. Kyrie's finally going to stop being some damsel. She's going to actually not be sidelined. She's going to be a Keyblade wielder like everyone else,
Mm.
and she's only used as a plot device for Sora and Riku. Ultimately, we
She
barely
had
get to
she
see
had
her do
moments.
anything.
She had moments, but it was ultimately used to progress Sora's story. But like, because I'm thinking like even with like which again, this is another part that's like another confusing part of the story where like Sora is like going through the sleeping worlds again, bring that in again, whatever, sure. And then like she's there to kind of help Sora come back. So I mean it's so like there's moments where like she does shine, but then ultimately her role does become like, okay, yeah, let's just have her be a damsel again.
I was
Um
kind of hoping there would be some fight where it's just Sora, Riku, and Kairi, and like
yeah.
Sora and Riku are like in the front line, and like she's in the back, kind of using magic or healing. Because I was
Mhm.
thinking like, oh, maybe she's like a white mage of the party. Like she
Mhm.
excels in like healing and stuff like that. And the scene that you um just talked about, that's like another example of her like being more like a power of healing instead of just like simply
Right.
just going in there and bashing baddies. I would have been fine with that also, but we don't get enough of that. And then
Mhm.
like they just straight out kidnap her, like
Yeah. Yeah.
or who does it? Xemnas kidnaps her
Mhm.
and gives her the Xehanort, and I'm like, oh well, there went that. And then like Xehanort, just like old Xehanort, just like straight out just boom kills her. And you're like,
Yep.
how you'll do.
Mm.
Yep. Like cutting away from William Turner when he's stabbed. That's let's not show that. But Kyrie just straight up being being like I don't know, like what was it like I don't know, she was just like cut, like just clean, like I don't know,
No, you
whatever.
see it. He
But
slashes down behind her back, and she just like
yeah,
she like turns into particles.
right. And she well, that's the thing too. It's like she does die because she takes like when that happens, she becomes that like water kind of form that Sora takes when he's dead, you know,
Hmm.
for that bit, which is another thing like there's actual death and that's confirmed. Like it's not just your heart separated and you become a heartless and a nobody. It's like actual death. And I thought that was pretty cool to introduce that. But
And everyone's like, "You can do that?"
right. And so I think like overall from like what they could do, because I mean thinking about it, like I think Nomura even mentioned this that he wanted to make it simpler. So I think to kind of like take what had already been a mess from previous games and try to like wrap that up in a way that would make things simpler. I think they did the best they could do with, how would we resolve this story with a billion characters and a billion like convoluted aspects or elements of the lore and
You,
whatever,
I
But
that's interesting you say that because a main complaint I see from like really hardcore Kingdom Hearts fans
mhm.
is that the explanations were too simple, and I'm like, that's a positive quality. Like you,
we
like
need
why do
more
you
of that.
want such a complicated reason for something to be? Like
Again,
Vanitas was like, I just wanted to look like Sora. That was it.
mm,
It's like,
mm,
oh,
Yeah.
you're so fond of Sora, so I guess I'd be fond of him too. Like
right.
That,
brothers, and that I was like, that's it. I'm like, okay.
Well, there's
yeah.
some insights in like the novelization of Birth by Sleep where uh they kind of delve more into Vanitas' character and the thing is too is these novelizations are like I guess I think they're canon because they're like released by Square and like they're kind of like I don't know whatever but like
It's
what happened was
loose
Vanitas
cannon.
right like Vanitas he saw the life that Ventus had and he kind of felt jealous ultimately and he wanted that life and wanted to be um like he felt empty. I mean vanity, right? Like his namesake. He just felt like he saw what Ventus had and wanted that and he couldn't have that because he was like the opposite of Ventus. So like seeing him as like a brother like wanting to join with his brother again and all that to be whole again. And it's sort of like it kind of you could draw parallels with like how Zemnis wanted to be whole again and whatnot, or I don't know. But yeah, so I mean that explains why Vanitas ultimately he just wanted to be together with Sora and Ventus. And but yeah, I don't
I
know.
guess jealousy is part of the dark aspect, darkness part.
Yeah.
I guess.
I
um
think coming from like a little bit different perspective than you all is, and I do have to give this game credit. Uh, a I hadn't played all the games, and I was still it was presented in a way that I was still able to follow along with what was going on
mhm,
to a good enough degree where I enjoyed it, right? But also, Riconius, this is something that you mentioned earlier, but like there were so many games and so many different plot lines that they had to
mhm,
resolve in this game, and the fact that like they were able to get that done in this game and it not just be a complete mess, like
right.
this was a massive undertaking that they had to be able to appeal to new fans, present it in a way that's simplified enough for people to understand it that haven't played all the games or maybe haven't played in a long time, and then still be able to resolve everything in a satisfying way. Like, I mean, they did a good job, I
Yeah.
think.
Yeah, I think I mean the fact that they were able to wrap it up and conclude this story at all, whether it had um, weird pacing at times, like the fact that they were able to still accomplish a resolution
Hmm.
is still good, with considering Kingdom Hearts and how much of a mess it had become.
Yeah.
So I'm glad. So that's why I'm satisfied that like what they did what they did, and it was I mean, the fact that they were able to do it, like even thinking about like something like Avengers Infinity War, like how that was able to work at all, you know? Like
Mhm.
so looking at Kingdom Hearts 3, like where everything is just because what's different than the Avengers movies is that each movie had its own story, um like it had its own self-contained story each time.
Right.
Whereas with Kingdom Hearts, it was the same story being told.
Yeah.
So I mean, I'm glad that they were able to wrap it up at
Both
all.
Avengers and Kingdom Hearts kind of banks on you seeing the previous movies, so they don't
Mhm.
feel the need to dive too deep on what's going on with these characters. So that's where it kind of comes in, where it's like it's it's a fan service game, but I mean that's the intent. But
Right.
and they do it and they do it very well. But
Mhm.
they do expect you to know already what's up with the Birth by Sleep characters. They already expect you to mostly know what's
Right.
up with the 358 over 2 days characters. So that
Mhm.
gives them a lot more time to create their resolution instead of just taking hours to explain what happened
Yeah.
in these games before. I'm glad they didn't do that. I was kind of scared they're going to do that and just like float the story out. But they actually kept it simple, kept it clean. The pun kind of intended.
Well, I
And
mean,
then
the game did provide the theater mode or whatever, where you can go back and
Right.
watch kind of some story points from the previous games, and that helped a lot with me to clarify certain things. So I thought that was a good addition.
Yeah, yeah, the memory archive really helped a lot because even, um, I was watching the cutscenes with someone who didn't really play the games, and so, like, showing that first kind of helped, like, because they immediately kind of caught on to, "Oh, like, Kyrie is someone that Sora cares about," and then the tragedy of, like, Roxas and Shion and that friendship and whatnot. So,
Hmm.
like, they were to latch onto the the emotional parts that mattered, so
Hmm.
that way when the payoffs happened in 3, they were able to feel something, you know? So I
Right.
thought that was good that they added that.
Yeah.
it was Shion in particular. I'm glad got to come back in resolution because the I think one of the most emotional moments I ever had in the Kingdom Hearts series was
Mm,
the end of 358 over 2 days with Roxas having to fight Shion. Like that one actually hit an emotional chord with me, and
mhm.
like I felt so bad having to do it. And like when she like disappears in his arms, I'm like, oh, don't do this to me.
Yeah.
And I
Right.
did feel genuine joy seeing her come back, and she gets to be her own person.
Mhm.
She doesn't have to care about being tied to Sora. Same with Roxas; he can be his own person now. Even though it kind of uh, makes it lose the point in Kingdom Hearts 2 that, like,
Mm,
despite not being he's supposed to be a part of Sora, and he
right,
accept both him and Nominate accept that they are one half of a whole,
right.
and like they won't lose themselves; they'll still be
Hmm.
together. And then Kingdom Hearts 3, they literally create a doll and yank Nominate out.
Mm.
And
Well, I
that
think I think the thing with that was, like, they Roxas and Naminé accepted their fate in 2, but then I think because even Kyrie explained she felt kind of, I guess, guilty that she took away the life that Naminé could have, so that's why she wanted to have Naminé out of her and be her own person. And same
Mhm.
with Roxas, you know, like, kinda like Sora, I think it was in Dream Drop Distance where, like, Sora kind of, like, explained, like, he expressed, like, "You know what? You should be your own person. You don't have to be stuck in me," you know? So even though, like, Roxas and Naminé, they were okay with what they had, like, the other characters wanted to help them be their own person, so
But it actually leads me to a question. You probably would, you may know. Do nobodies have hearts? Like Roxas, Shion,
Well, wasn't
they
that
other characters?
the whole point of Organization 13? Where like weren't they searching for a heart for themselves?
Right, so they explained in Dream Drop Distance, Xemnas, he kind of, like, revealed that no bodies can actually regrow their own hearts. And the goal was when they did make that Kingdom Hearts in 2, where they would get their hearts and be completed, that would be all the same heart. Essentially, they would be given Xehanort's heart rather than regrowing their own. But they can regrow their own, and that's why in like 358 days, Roxas, he even was it Roxas? Like they mentioned, like, where they can feel something. So that means they had hearts. Like you need a heart to be able to cry. So the fact that they were able to have tears and feel emotions. So
I guess that's kind of like one of the aspects of Kingdom Hearts that kind of feels intimidating to me, because when we get into like the little nuanced details like that, I find myself wondering like, well, what's the real difference between this person and a regular person, right? Because like apparently like they don't have a heart, but like they're clearly showing like all sorts of emotions. They feel remorseful after you finally defeat them. Like perhaps this concept of not having a heart is not non-existent. It seems confusing to me, but I'm sure that it's explained in detail perhaps throughout some of the games that I haven't played. So
not to mention, this game is definitely going to get like an Ultimania or Final Mix with additionals also, so we'll inevitably get stuff like that.
Yeah, because I know Nomura mentioned that for this game, since there isn't a need to have a complete re-release of the same game this time around, we're in a day and age where we have, patches and DLC. So there will be, I think he mentioned like plans for like one major paid DLC and then other updates and whatnot to like add
fill
to
in
the
some
game.
gaps.
Yeah. So which I don't think it's like to the extent of like FF15 where they completely redo cutscenes or add a bunch of story, but it's more like, like for things like gameplay, adding more bosses. That one major DLC might be like, I don't know, an extra
Olympus or something.
Yeah, like a bit of story or something. I don't know.
Yeah, I would argue it doesn't need any extra story. The problem with 15 is it really needed that extra context, that extra story.
Yeah.
And they were saying sorry by releasing all these DLC episodes that they just canceled. Kingdom Hearts 3 though feels like a full fulfilling $60 game.
Right.
So anything they make at this point does feel like an actual addition to it, not something that needs to be there to make it feel complete. Like my complaint is lack of side quests, but there is still a full meaty campaign. So there is that. 15 didn't have that either.
Right.
But I'm very satisfied with the amount of content we got. I just hope that Final Mix just adds like all the gameplay stuff that hardcore fans would really enjoy.
Right. And that's what I assume is going to happen is, to have more bosses, to have like a rebalanced combat or something, which is what Final Mix did before. And so I think they can, because now they can do that by just patching the game. They don't need to, re-release the game. Yeah.
I'm sure they'll release some kind of Game of the Year edition down the line.
Yeah.
With
has it all included.
For anyone who bought the regular copy can buy the Final Mix digitally on there. It's a great day living. And Kingdom Hearts is like one of the OG DLC things with like Final Mix and stuff like that. So people complain about it and be like, well, this is nothing new. They always done this.
And there was like, wasn't it like Master Quest for like Zelda for like Ocarina or something like that?
That's a bit of a different story. You got the Ocarina of Time game, and then they were going to release for the 64 DD that didn't come out over here. They were going to release a Master Quest version of Ocarina of Time, but that never came to be. So it wasn't until the GameCube promotional discs that they offered Master Quest that never got released with it.
Well, there you go, man.
Yeah. So, so that basically, when it comes to Zelda, I'm the major nerd on that.
Okay.
But yeah, that was a full package. But back to the story. Was anyone kind of surprised with the Ansem Seeker of Darkness, the stuff he said when you defeated him?
I was surprised because my understanding was back when there were the Ansem reports written, at some point, Xehanort, the apprentice, had taken over those reports and started fabricating these new reports under Ansem's name. So my assumption was that those experiments on like children and whatnot, that was Xehanort and not Ansem the Wise. But now with that revelation that it was under Ansem the Wise as well, and with the secret reports, it seemed like the that was a theme that was well known too, where people in Radiant Garden would hear groans and moaning from the castle from experiments. So yeah, that surprised me. Like before getting the secret reports, just going through the story, that there was that revelation, like all the children that Ansem experimented on, like that was a shock for me because I assumed that was Ansem Seeker of Darkness who had done that.
Yeah, because then we get like a whole scene like in Kingdom Hearts 2 with like Ansem the Wise. He's like eating a sea salt ice cream, and Xehanort's
Mhm.
like comes in, he's like, "Hey, by your permission, I'd like to." It's like, "I forbid it."
Right. So that's why I'm like, okay, so then that means at some point that's when Xehanort took on those experiments. But now it seems that Ansem had been doing those experiments. I think he stopped at some point, and then his apprentices continued it under Xehanort. So that's what I think.
Yeah, like hey, like some surprising character moments happen to me. Like when you defeat young Xehanort, Xemnas, and Seeker of Darkness Ansem.
Hmm.
It's like something like I've just never seen their character express like happen after they like officially disappear
Right.
from the game. Like Seeker of Darkness Ansem of all people. I was
Yeah.
I was kind of surprised on how he reacted.
Hmm.
Like he had a desire for something. And he wasn't just simply just like evil just to be evil type of
Right.
deal. Like they brought some character to him to like the last second before.
Hmm. Well, and they kind of like hinted at it a bit when he did confront Ansem, the Wise, and he had expressed like I don't know if it was remorse or he was because he was angry at Ansem the Wise for experimenting on that girl, and he wanted to know where Ansem hid that girl, and so
Which I assume is that Ava girl from
possibly,
like
yeah.
one of the
Well, I know
Keyblade
because
Masters.
I know that because in the secret reports there was some reports or some things written by whoever the girl was, and they just called her X. They like didn't give her a name. But it seemed like it probably is her from Key or Union Cross. Because then she even like kind of writes out, may my heart be my guiding key," which is something that she somehow remembered.
Which is
Because
something Keyblade Masters say, right?
yeah, yeah. So or just like Keyblade wielders in general, like that's something that they said back then. So
Hmm.
yeah, it definitely alludes to that girl being Ava or any of the other characters from the mobile game.
Right.
Hmm.
There's a few big moments in this game I really want to talk about. The first one is every single like all those names from the mobile game
Right.
help and come
Yes.
and help Sora defeat that big shadow tornado thing.
Hmm.
Um, that was pretty sick. That was really awesome, and it had every name in there. And I was kind of curious, I was like, "Is my name in there?"
Right.
And I went
I
through
think
it, and like I didn't see my name. I'm like, "Oh, there must be some special requirement."
yeah, there was a while back they held some event in I think it was in Anaheim, like some meeting, some like event, like a meeting with players of the game, of the mobile game, and they announced there that there was going to be some kind of competition. So like there was like a high score to meet, and then you could submit your character's name, but it had to like meet some requirements like with that. Um, and I didn't know how they were gonna like. No one knew how they would be implemented. So the way they did it, where essentially like it was your characters like, it was essentially us helping Sora. I was like, "That's kinda cool." And, like, having, like, each of the, situation commands being the player's name and their union from the game, and, like, that was it was interesting because I didn't expect it to be an emotional I don't know, like a payoff You know, you keep saying that word, but like, I mean, that this game had so
Yeah.
many. You
Yeah, and
know,
then you see like the main character of the mobile game, or like the
right?
representation of the main character.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
that
ephemer
they
or
didn't give
whatever.
him a name, but that was pretty cool. Uh,
Hmm.
but that whole thing was just fantastic and epic, and I just enjoyed pressing triangle with it.
Yeah,
The other scene, the final battle, when we go to that
mm.
beautiful world that we don't really get to explore.
Yeah,
But that was a really good last epic fight. Like I was kind of disappointed in a way that we didn't get like some big monstrosity thing to deal with like in the first two
mm.
games. But this one felt very personal, which
Right.
which
Yeah,
made it feel very epic in its own way.
yeah, that's how I felt. Yeah, yeah, because then I think even though it wasn't like the entire world, but still having that small town to like run through, and that's actually part of the fight. Like, I thought
Mhm.
that was interesting, like, I didn't expect that, like, when those, when they were all wearing, like, that weird armor and everything, and then, they would, like, show up, and it felt like they were just normal mobs from, like, the game, but they all it was what was cool too is, like, even how they kind of played into the actual lore where, like, they're all Xehanort, they're all one, so, like, each individual Xehanort like armor figure, like they had the same health bar. Like they were still one entity. I thought that was an interesting like little nod to the lore of like, what's happening.
You know, I
I
hadn't noticed
was
that until you pointed that out. That's
yeah,
pretty neat.
I was relieved when I noticed that though, because initially when I saw all of them, I thought that I was gonna have to defeat each one. Like, and I
Right.
was just like, dude, this is. I don't know if I'm gonna be able to do
That's
this.
what I was thinking too.
I had ultimate
I was-
weapon. I was like, bring it. I'll take you all on.
Of course, yeah, because you had ultimate weapon, man.
yeah, but I was
But
like,
yeah, I mean, it's a crazy transition of fights. The underwater one was a little weird, but
Hmm.
I mean, just that part where he just takes you up on that like light thing up in the sky, and then
Right.
he literally rips the light out of you, and you have to get it back.
Yes. Yeah.
And the part to finish it all off that was so great. And I assume you get both play it on PS4.
mhm.
I played it on Xbox, but
Really? Then
yeah.
you missed out on this.
Why?
It, in the part where Sora is like in the game over
Uh-huh.
look, in the PS4 controller, you hear Donald and
Oh
Goofy
yeah,
screaming for Sora to wake up.
Oh. Well, I
yeah.
mean, I still hear that, but it's not it's not from the
Well, this was
controller.
really,
Yeah.
really cool. I'm glad you brought that up because, like,
Mhm.
it's literally only coming from the controller, so it sounds like it's like sounding like you're asleep or something like that. It's really, really a cool effect. I
Right.
liked it a lot.
It's the only time in the game they do something like that, but that was
Yeah.
a really nice little treat. Like,
That's really cool.
I was like, "Wait, is that them?" I was like, "Yeah."
Because I did hear them, but, like, it was just part of the normal speakers on the television. Yeah.
Yeah, and they're screaming more the more you press the button, then you get yourself back, finally defeat
Yeah.
Xehanort after they're all, like, working together, the whole pint
Right.
line, and then they take it down.
And that's the other
Um
thing too, is, like, how in that fight too, is how Xehanort, he used both darkness and light to fight you. And I thought that was interesting. It was like, oh, like, because now he has, both with using the Keyblade or the Kai blade, whatever.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
Xehanort's not necessarily wrong. It's bad to have too much light, and it's bad to have too much darkness.
Mm.
So it's good to have a balance. So it was interesting at the end when Ericus comes out, and they're like both kind of
Mhm.
like, we both screwed up in our own way. You a little more Xehanort, but
Right. Which again, like for me, like, cause like I love Ericus and like, cause I mean, I don't know, he had like probably like some of the best acting naturally being Mark Hamill, but
Mhm.
just like that also like that resolution, like he comes up and he has that moment with his pupils too, and that's what I wanted in this game for sure. Um so yeah, and just like that resolution with them, with those two being best friends, and I think kind of like introducing that, because I think that's the
Did-
thing too in this game that could be a flaw because we didn't really see much of that interaction in like Birth by Sleep. We just
mhm.
saw them kind of have conflict. We didn't really see them like their relationship as friends. We just read about it in like the reports,
I
And
feel like
so,
that kind of rectified a mistake they made in Birth by Sleep by not establishing that, because you
mhm,
think that when you play that game without playing this game, you think to yourself, what would make you think that Xehanort's not the bad guy here?
mm,
Like what? Like you literally see him have darkness come out of his hand during
right.
the test with like. Like if I was Ericus, I'd have like, at least raised an eyebrow and be like,
This
"Oh,
guy.
oh, he didn't learn the damn thing. Well, time to kill him."
Right.
So for you all, then that moment when Xehanort actually like turned and he was like, okay, like um maybe I don't have to do this, and he gives the Keyblade to Sora. Like, did that moment, was that did you buy that? Like, did it feel good, or did you feel like it was kind of like awkward? Because I felt like it was kind of like, you're like the final boss, dude. Like, you shouldn't, like,
Right.
you shouldn't
Well,
be doing this.
I think it was sort of because Ericus was there and kind of like finally, um, Xehanort kind of like seen that, because even like Ericus nodded to this, where like he said that it's too late for us, but not for them.
Hmm.
Like our time is done. Like pass it on to like this next generation. Like this is now their time to kind
Hmm.
of be the guardians of the world and whatnot. Um, and so I think that's what helped it make sense. But then it was kind of interesting because it's like I just didn't expect it, like Xehanort essentially being redeemed, but
I guess I
also
looked at it
not.
like he seemed to me to be like probably the most evil person in the game.
Right.
So the
Yeah.
fact that he had so much awareness, and I imagine he was so deep into darkness, right, with his mind being so warped that he had enough awareness to realize what he was doing was not ideal, right?
Hmm.
It seemed a little strange to me, but you do bring up a good point. Bringing up somebody from your past and kind of perhaps bringing up some memories that you haven't had in a while might kind of give that perspective.
I think they should
Yeah.
have just given like they show a couple scenes in the past with like Ericus and Xehanort.
Hmm.
They're like kind of like young teenager type of.
Yeah.
I like that tie-in, like that. Like, I guess because I didn't know enough about the story to realize that was them in the beginning. So like the once I saw that again at the end of the game, I was like, oh, this is kind of cool. Like, this is like, I like how this tied in.
Yeah,
Right.
but like I think they should have just showed a couple more scenes like that, just so you know where Xehanort like kind of comes from when he decided to
Hmm.
do this whole campaign of releasing Kingdom Hearts to balance out the light and darkness. Because I think in Xehanort's mind, he thinks he's doing the right thing, but
Right.
obviously he becomes twisted over time from it, and he kind of becomes like an unapologetic villain. So it is a little weird to see him just simply turn back, be like, "Oh wait, crap, I did screw up, didn't I?"
Yeah. It's sort of like, oh wait, this was my motivation the whole time. I forgot. And like suddenly he's like, oh right, I don't want to like kill all these people. It's weird because yeah, like only a few minutes beforehand, he essentially kind of
It was like supremely evil.
yeah. And then now and suddenly he kind of like
He just like puts his hand
has
behind his back and he like waltzes over to him and he's like, here you go. Like,
Yeah,
it's
he
like,
just gives the key. He just gives the Keyblade to Sora, and like I would have been expected, like Eric just be like, Xehanort, give him the Keyblade. No, like give it. Oh,
which there was a bit of that where Xehanort didn't want like he wanted to continue and wanted to do, like reshape the world in his image like he wanted. And but then Ericus, I guess he was compelling because he was kind of like, listen, like, dude, like we're old. Our time's up. Like, let
yeah,
them handle it, you know?
look at me. I'm
So
not even really here. Yeah.
I wonder if it's because Xehanort knows he's dying anyways. He just kind of just gives in,
yeah, that's what I'm thinking.
and then he just agrees with Erica. It's like let's just go back to the beginning with both of us and just disappear.
Yeah,
Yeah,
because Xehanort also, I mean, it's like
failed.
because like Xehanort gave his all using the Keyblade, and then like the fact that he still couldn't beat this kid, like Sora, then
Yeah.
he's sort of like, yeah, okay, yeah, you know what? If I couldn't do that with this thing and literally using Kingdom Hearts, then yeah, okay, I lost. I'm
That
done.
scene would make more sense if Xehanort took more time to justify why he's doing what he does.
Hmm.
But like everything he does, it just comes off as unapologetically evil.
Right. Yeah, he doesn't
Yeah,
explain.
you don't see that side of him. Yeah.
Right. And I think that's the thing is like if we saw more of it, yeah, then it would make it less out of left field. Like I think
We kind of see these desires through like his other counterparts, like Zemnis
right, yeah.
and young Xehanort, because they are in a way a representation of him. So you can kind of see it in that way if you want to make an excuse. But Master Xehanort himself is like
Mhm.
unapologetic, like throughout Birth by Sleep, Dream Drop Distance, and 3,
Yeah.
like he is
He's
pulling the
just
strings.
Cuz
stayed the
exactly.
course, yeah.
Cuz he's manipulating not only the main protagonist but even like his own like legion of I don't know, copies or Xehanorts, you know, like he's manipulating them and taking advantage of them. So like the fact that he's being a jerk to both the protagonists and antagonists, it's like that makes him, yeah, he's the villain. So why then like all of a sudden he reveals his true intent, which is like that that was not clear at all. Like there's no reason to because even then it's like, well, we knew that he wanted to because the whole thing was like he was curious. He wanted to know what would happen if he started a new Keyblade War. But then that kind of evolved like suddenly in like 2 seconds into, well, this whole time I wanted to recreate the entire world and bring it back to the point where there was no light or darkness. It was just blank. Like it was just, a pure world
Mm, yeah.
balance. But like we didn't really see much of that. Like he just kind of mentioned it like in the last second. But I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I'm still satisfied with how it turned out, and I'm glad like they both get some kind of resolution in the way because it kind of ties back to
Mhm.
everything like Sora. I don't know if Sora like directly helped it, but Sora has a way to getting to people,
Mhm.
and maybe that was just kind of another one, which kind of leads me into another question. What did Sora do with the Keyblade?
Yeah, he still has it. I don't
He
know.
still has it.
I'm sure
Okay,
he still has it. Well, because the last person we see holding it is Sora, so I assume he just has it still
so
somehow.
I'm sure he'll lose it in Kingdom Hearts 4 somehow, but
Yeah, because the thing is too, which I mean, this kind of leads into the secret ending, but
let's
so
jump
I'll
straight
wait.
to it.
Yeah, let's do it.
Well, I
No,
mean, but
let's
then
jump
there's
straight
the
to it.
epilogue. There's the epilogue
All
before
right,
that.
The one with the black box and
Yeah,
Lushu. Yeah. Um, I was kind of surprised and not surprised at the same time that Lushu ended up being Zigbar
right.
because
He was the only
just kind of
one
like the
who.
mannerisms he had.
Hmm. Well, I
Uh,
that's the thing for me. Like, I don't know. A lot of people had been saying that they had similar mannerisms and whatnot, but I never saw it. Like, so I was always like, "No, it can't be Zigbar. That's weird." But but then I think what kind of like made it more apparent was then his death scene. He was the one like he went out of his way to make it more dramatic. Like, "Oh, I'm falling off the edge." And like he falls off and you don't see his body. I'm like, "Huh, that's weird." Okay. So then when that revelation happened, I'm like, "Oh,
it's
yeah,
like
that makes
so
sense."
he was Lushu, and then some down the line when Xehanort had the Master of Masters weapon,
Mhm.
he decided to become Braig. Then the events happen where he becomes Zigbar, but
Right.
he's still doing the Lushu mission
Well,
even
yeah,
after he becomes a nobody.
yeah, he actually writes about it. There's a few of the secret reports where I mean, it's written by unknown, but from reading the context, it's definitely Lushu.
Oh,
He's writing
right.
it, and he mentions how like this whole time he had to kind of like do what the master wanted because this is all part of the plan too. He would still um go through with his role, and he and he kind of like keeps an eye on that keyblade as it's being passed down, and he took on different vessels, and eventually he saw when it got to Xehanort, he kind of like realized like, okay, I think this is the guy that's actually going to go through with whatever his plans are. So let me take on one last vessel, which is Braig or Zigbar, and this will be my last one, and I will kind of play the part of the fool who just desires the Keyblade, and that way it would still return to him, which is the plan, is to return back or have the Keyblade return back to Lushu. So he he kind of like plays the fool and becomes the one that that Xehanort would bequeath the Keyblade to, you know. Um,
But the Master of Mastery gave Luciu. Did he give him instructions to hand the Keyblade down
yeah,
to other people? Like, is there a purpose to that, or is that something we have to wait longer to see?
I think the Master of Masters told Lushu to just pass it down to your apprentice, and then the apprentice to theirs. And I think eventually, I think it was just so that the eye on it would see the events that would happen surrounding those people. That way, he would know the future. Um,
Hmm.
which, and then eventually, I guess it kind of came full circle. Like the plan was for the Keyblade to return to Lushu so that he would use the box to revive the or to have the master return somehow, which is what he wrote in the reports.
Okay.
Yeah, like it's so much, but
You guys lost me like 3 minutes ago. So
basically,
Yeah, so from a scale of 1 to 10, how pissed off do you think Kingdom Hearts fans were when they didn't reveal what was in the black box? Like something that was hinted
Yeah.
at the very beginning of the game.
that was going to be a question I had. Like, did I miss a special scene or something? Because yeah, we
The
like
thing
we
that
didn't.
Maleficent and Pete were looking for.
That was
Um,
that was like literally in the first like 5 minutes of the game. I was like, oh, this is a thing.
Yeah.
Like,
they never promised to show us what was in the box.
it was highly
But-
suggested.
It was no, exactly, but it was teased that they would show the box, not necessarily what's inside. But no, I know, like it's, but then that implies like, oh, you're going to show us what's in the box finally, right?
Yeah, so like
But-
fans get to like relive the story for 7 years. Like, what's in the black box? Just like the characters in the game. Like nobody knows what's in it. Like,
Yeah, they don't know. Well, yeah,
I mean,
we don't know.
And then like all the Keyblade masters come back and like meet up with Luciu, and like I thought
Right.
all these guys were like dead or gone.
So with that, I think it's explained in the reports, and if not, it's in the mobile game. At some point during the war, the masters vanished. And so my guess is that moment that they vanish is the moment that they're summoned to that scene, the epilogue in 3. And how, I am not sure, because it probably involves time travel, of course. But
Mhm.
but yeah, that's my guess, is that moment they vanish during the Keyblade War is the moment that they appear there. And I don't know, because Luciu is the one who called them together, and he also expected Ava to be there, so he didn't know Ava wouldn't be there, which is interesting.
Maybe she
So-
jumped off the wrong time into Radiant Garden.
Maybe, yeah,
Maybe.
because with that too, the girl that's why I think I don't know if it's Ava, if the girl is Ava, because she writes about a person, like this man with the eye patch, that leads her out of leads her like away. And so that means that Luciu would know where Ava is, but in the epilogue it seemed like he didn't. I don't know.
Maybe he wrote that recently. He doesn't know where she currently is. Maybe she
I don't
knew
know.
where she
Well-
was before.
Well, Luciu told her Ava about everything. He says that, and she probably just didn't, like, she because then he says that she did fulfill her role.
Hmm.
So, which was to send the dandelions to the outer world, to the outside world, which then it comes back to Lucius reports where he mentions the dandelions and where they went, and how there is another world line, which is like a whole other, I don't know, man, another layer to Kingdom Hearts lore that's just
Maybe
crazy.
that's where Sora and
But-
Rick goes in that special movie.
right, because Luciu mentions how the Master of Masters had talked about world lines and another world line, and how the current world, with what we've had so far in Kingdom Hearts, that it had a demise, which would be Kingdom Hearts or the Keyblade War and everything, and how this other world line um, would have a demise of its own or something. And so the master had gone there somehow. Like when he vanished, he probably went to the world line, to the other world line, and that's where the dandelions were sent as well. Because at the time of uh, back cover and Union Cross, or not Union Cross, but Unchained Key, which is another confusing thing. Like at that time, that there was only one world. So to send dandelions to the outside world would mean a completely different world. Like it's which is confusing and annoying. But
Maybe
um
it's a DreamWorks world.
I don't I don't know. No, someone I know had mentioned that it could possibly be like a square world, but weird.
Yeah,
'Cause-
I mean, maybe like Square themed because the where they end up is it's like a mixture of World Ends with You and the Verum Rex.
Right.
Yeah, but it's
Right.
playing like that music from the first Versus trailer. I mean, they changed it a little bit, but
Right. So that's
it's
why so I have this I guess a theory, whatever. But because if you listen to the music playing throughout that secret ending, it starts off with the same theme from the final world, which we know is um is basically where people go when they die. It's so that alludes to the themes of death. Then we get the like the music from like like Kingdom Hearts 1's secret ending, which that secret ending is titled Another Side, Another Story. So my guess is like that involves like the other world line, like they're in another world line, and so it's like death, and then also the themes of death and sleep, which are both the themes of Versus 13, and um and then so that's why then Somnus plays right at the end, or like when it shows Yozora on
mhm.
the I forgot the name of the building, but and then it ends with Dearly Beloved, of course. So my guess is like then we see like Sora and Riku wake up. So I don't know, somehow it involves the themes of Versus 13 because there's death and sleep, right?
Oh yeah, it's totally a nod to Versus 13. I was kind of putting my eyebrow up at first when I saw the Verum Rex thing in the Toy
Mhm.
Story world, but
Right.
when they showed this, I was like, oh yeah, man, Nomura is
Yeah.
still salty about being
Yeah,
for having Versus 13 changed.
I was just like watching it. I was like, Nomura, like people have finally shut up about bringing that game back. Like, because there, like there's all this petition signing, like, oh, we still want Versus 13. And
Mhm.
then we see that trailer and then we see that secret ending. And I'm like, dude, he's like restarting this whole thing up.
I think he
Yeah.
Like,
should do it. I think he should make that Versus 13 game because from what I heard,
no, man.
the story is completely different from 15, like
It
in almost
is.
every way.
I
Yeah.
Like,
think it's good he moved on. At least I thought he did.
Well,
But
the other thing
keep going.
too is Yozora, like Yozora in Japanese, meaning evening sky, which
Mm,
Noctis,
very
Kylum,
similar. Yeah.
yeah, night sky. So it's like, and I don't know. So I think it's definitely going to. I think my guess is that it'll have the it'll have elements of Versus 13, or at least like reusing ideas, but within Kingdom Hearts. And since now they're playing with the idea of another world line, it won't be so much. It won't be as tied down with like Disney as it
Mm.
was before,
yeah,
which could hurt the series though
So
because
yeah, that would jump to our last
Disney.
topic. Actually, is how you want to see the future of Kingdom Hearts go. And
well,
Mhm.
I'm kind of like 50-50 on the Disney thing. It's like one thing. It's one that like the Disney worlds are kind of like the built like in the appeal to Kingdom Hearts to
Mhm.
a lot of people. But on the other hand, it's like Kingdom Hearts is has such a strong lore and story that you can rip out Final Fantasy and Disney and just have it be its own thing.
Yeah, it
And
has a potential.
you can do that, but it's like you can, but should you?
Right. Because the other thing too is, even with like, because then going back to the ending of the game, Mickey, well, actually, it starts with young Zane or telling Sora, "Your time in this world is." He gets cut off, but you assume, he says over. Um, and at first, I'm like, "Oh, does he mean like Sora will die?" But I think it also alludes to the fact that literally that world, that current Kingdom Hearts world, Sora will not return to or can't. And then Mickey says, "If you go and save Kyrie, you might not be able to come back to us." So that kind of like that connects to the idea of maybe they're getting away
They're
from Disney, like um but
Well, I mean, yeah, I definitely think that like that's a for sure possibility. I mean, I think that's what a lot of fans want, not necessarily to abandon Disney, but like
mm,
at least like you said, the kind of experiment more with some of the Square worlds, or um, at least try something new. I think that would
right.
definitely be welcomed. But I don't know. Like, do you think they would actually like abandon Disney outright, aside from some references here and there?
Yeah, I don't.
Because that's such a hardcore part of the games right now. But then again, this game didn't have any Final Fantasy in it really, and like
Right.
initially there that was like a big draw for them. So
Hmm. And I think that's the thing too. It's looking from like a business perspective. I mean, would you want to cut ties with the biggest?
well, they are paying a lot of probably royalties to Disney,
Right.
and just for using all these different worlds and all these characters, and if they could focus on their own properties, like it would probably be
I
even more
mean,
profitable.
they still have a
But
ton of Disney properties they
well,
Hmm.
can
I'm
use, like Sword in the Stone, for better or
Star
worse.
Wars.
Like Cauldron, yeah, they have the Marvel universe
Right.
technically in the Star Wars. I
Well,
don't know
and
if they would ever use those, but they technically could if Disney
and there
allowed
were
it.
other worlds that they had planned that they cut. So like one being they were actually planning a um Treasure Planet world. They were planning a Jungle Book world, which the Jungle Book world, like the textures of the models of that world were complete almost.
Yeah, it's
But
in Birth by Sleep texture
right.
data.
And then the Treasure Planet was like in Dream Drop Distance. Like you have like the polygonal, like I don't know what you
Hmm.
would call it, like the skeleton, I guess, of like a ship from Treasure Planet. Um, but so see, I don't know if like because I think Disney also has some ownership of Kingdom Hearts, if not like for sure most of it or half of it.
They only have ownership of the characters that they supply. They don't have ownership of characters. Sora,
Right.
Riku, and Kairi, the
Yeah.
main Kingdom Hearts characters.
Yeah. Yeah. Those are still copyrighted Square. So I mean, but then I'm trying to think like even with like the title itself, like Kingdom Hearts, is that a Disney property?
I think that's a Square property.
Is it okay?
Well, I mean, there might be some underlying verbiage in like in a contractual agreement, like, hey, if
Hmm.
you're going to reference our characters, even if it's just I'm going to speak the word Mickey, right, in the
Hmm.
game, like if you're going to do that, you have to like have a certain amount of representation. We want some of our properties in there at some point somehow. So,
Yeah.
um, I don't know. I mean, I could see him doing like a one-off and going into a this whole new like side kind of deal where they kind of explore other things outside of Disney, but I definitely think they'll always come back to it.
I
Because
think they'll
even
keep Disney.
yeah, because even well, the thing is though, even like looking at like the secret ending again, in all the other secret endings to every other game, like from 1 and 2, right? Mickey showed up. In this one, he didn't. So that could I don't know. There's a lot there that could be implying that there might be getting away from Disney to an extent, and I think but the thing is though, I don't know if they not necessarily if they could. They definitely could, but I don't know if it would I think it would probably hurt the series because most people their draw to Kingdom Hearts has been the Disney aspect. But I know some people who went to Kingdom Hearts for Final Fantasy, but then I mean that's gone in this game.
See, because that is the point. That is the point. Like, if you want to grow your audience to like new people, right? Like, that's one of the draws is the Disney worlds. I mean,
Yeah.
we saw that E3. They made a big deal about Pirates of the Caribbean and everything. Like, so like if you want to like expand your audience, you definitely want to go more that route.
Right. Or even the Disney convention, the D23, promoting Kingdom Hearts. Like that's the thing too. Like the marketing, the advertising for this game specifically, Disney went so hard on it, and it kind of feels like okay, they're accepting it as like one of their big properties now. So so then would they even like want Square to get away from them?
Well, and let's
they can't do it without Square.
Yeah, let's not. Oh, that's true. Yeah, I didn't even consider that. But let's not forget the fact that Nomura regularly doesn't get what he wants. Right? I mean, he sometimes just gets off on these tangents of like, he wanted 13 or versus 13 to be a musical. There's like lots of things that he wants to do, but Square is like, no. This is we're not doing this. So
I hope they do. I'm sorry. What were you saying?
Well, I was going to say, I mean, there's a lot of like, I can't even imagine them not like, I've from what I've heard, Nomura is a big fan of Star Wars. There's a lot of Star Wars references and Kingdom Hearts.
No, yeah,
like he definitely wants to go there. Like, and it's just going to be too much of a temptation to not go there in the future, I think. So I think like he can dream all day about, doing a versus 13 styled game with Kingdom Hearts, but I think when it comes down to it, like they're going to say, well, or you could do Star Wars and you could do, I see Lord and the Manors saying Emperor's New Groove. Like, there's all sorts of stuff you could do.
And also, I mean, there's the whole, FF7 remake, like, hey, by the way, you're directing this. Wait, I'm what? Like,
and you mean the thing I drew the characters for? I'm directing it now.
Yeah. So it's, I don't know, but I know. So with Kingdom Hearts, like, I know for myself, if you take out Disney, because I've seen some people argue that the core cast, Disney cast, like Mickey, Donald Duck, Goofy, Chip and Dale, Yen Sid, like they're essential to the Kingdom Hearts story. But then they argue that the Disney worlds, those individual worlds based off of movies, that they're not essential. But I think
like even if you took Disney out and like I get it, Sora's been transported to another world. Right. Wouldn't you eventually want to see Sora reunited with Donald and Goofy?
Yeah, or even more so like now with Kyrie and then the others, like.
Yeah, you just had that payoff, and then you're just going to immediately leave it, like.
Yeah.
I feel like they're still going to work with it ultimately. But what I actually really want to see is I want them to actually make the Verum Rex game, like have its own
like
thing.
A world?
No, like just full AAA title Verum Rex.
No,
and have it be the versus 13 vision he wanted.
Immediately,
and then Kingdom Hearts 4 comes out, and that's a world that's presented, like similar to how World Ends With You was the first world. And
but then why would Yozora like be like an emphasis in the secret ending, like as if it were a part of Kingdom Hearts?
It's Nomura. He doesn't.
He just did that, and he'll figure it out later.
He'll think one thing, but he'll throw another at you. Because I really think Versus 13. I can't say if Versus 13 was better than 15 or not. I don't know if it was just so trailers. Bad. I don't know if it was so bad that they had to scrap it, or if it was too dark and mature. But I mean, I think that would be an opportunity for him to make the game he wanted. Of course, he would have to.
No, because it seems to me like all we saw was a trailer, which is just like Versus 13, and it'll take like 14 years to come out with it. Like I think I could see them doing like a world, like with that character, and they could like kind of do like a quick like synopsis of maybe like what he wanted to do, like maybe a little tidbit of it. But I don't know. A part of me thinks like with the Final Fantasy VII remake coming out, hopefully soon, and Nomura working on that, and like we're gonna have multiple entries. It would be if they were to go to a Square world, like I could see like a tie over with that. That would be kind of cool.
Mhm.
I would just be afraid that Nomura would do something stupid like make Genova like part of the Kingdom Hearts world, and then like somehow like Genova left and like landed in the Final Fantasy VII world, and now it's like
Well, but
connected.
I don't know if it's a but if this I don't know if the 7 remake is necessarily like a reboot, but just a remake of the original story, right?
It's a reimagining, essentially.
Yeah, I think they're. I mean, it's basically the same story, but
Oh.
they're expanding upon a lot of the details. So,
Well, two
Oh.
things. One, it'll be really hard to make Final Fantasy worlds in Kingdom Hearts just because
They
you
already
have a lot of
exist.
these characters who already exist.
Yeah.
that's
Kingdom
true.
Hearts
That's a
world.
very good point. Yeah,
Like
that would be
Cloud,
a little
Sephiroth,
conflicting.
Aerith, Tifa, all in that
Squall.
world. They have
Yeah, but
characters
I mean,
from-
come on, like it's like Kingdom Hearts. That like a lot of times you think like somebody died, and it's like, well, no, we just went back in time, and we like they could just be like, well, I don't know, Cloud like doesn't remember any of that stuff from Kingdom Hearts. Like they
Well-
could easily like figure something out, like very Kingdom Hearts ish.
But the
to
thing
get
is,
around
though, the established lore is that like the original world for these Final
Mhm.
Fantasy characters was Radiant Garden. But then,
so okay, that would cause a problem then. Yeah,
except like I think Cloud, because in 2, when Cloud and Sephiroth like disappear, I think like Goofy says something like they probably went to their own world, so that makes it confusing. So maybe then
it's possible.
maybe Cloud and because the thing is, so Aerith is also from Radiant Garden, but then Cloud does recognize her as if she is actual Aerith, like from 7. So then is Cloud from Radiant Garden or from like Midgar, right? So I don't know. Like it's confusing.
even Tifa only appears in Radiant Garden looking for Cloud.
Right, and so it's assumed like, oh, maybe she's also from whatever world they're from. So then Cloud isn't from Radiant Garden. I don't know, man.
I'm just maybe I'm being a little ridiculous here, but I'm just seeing Tifa's bar, and right next to that big old sign that says Texas, you see a little Mickey Mouse outline in like the side of like a jukebox or something. Like I think they could do something a little crazy. That'd be a
Maybe
little fun.
they would have to do a lot of rewriting and explaining too.
Well, I'm
Make
not
that
saying do
sense.
that in the actual remake. I'm saying if they like went into the world, but yeah, I know. I feel what you guys are saying.
But in terms of releasing stuff, I think if they start making Kingdom Hearts 4, I think it'll actually be a lot faster because they got a good foundation set up with 3.
Yeah.
And they have the Unreal Engine, and they probably already know what direction they want to take the story. So
Yeah.
I don't think we'll have a Kingdom Hearts 3 fiasco where we're waiting for
I
a
don't know,
console
man.
release of a new
Yeah.
Kingdom Hearts game for a long time. I think
Yeah.
in like 5 years' time, we probably get another.
Yeah, I don't see there being another, decade because now they have their HD assets, they're all the stuff that they built in Unreal now is ready to go and make new stuff. Like similar to like how didn't they announce like that did Nintendo announce that they were making like whatever the next Zelda game was, it would be using the Breath of the Wild engine, right?
It'll be using the engine. I don't know if they would use like the textures or the
Right.
graphical layout, but they would use the same engine to make the game.
Yeah, so they have they have something there that they can work with, whereas before they didn't. And then same with this, they have this new they have the engine now and they have, assets they can so
Yeah, it's the same with Ocarina of Time. They were able to make
Right.
Majora's Mask so fast because they had all the assets for Ocarina of Time, and actually they've been using the same similar engine to Ocarina of Time until Breath of the Wild came out.
Yeah.
So they used that for a good old long time.
That's
I guess
crazy.
the only obstacle that I foresee, and this might not even be an issue, but the fact that Nomura was working on Kingdom Hearts 3 and the Final Fantasy 7 remake, and it seems like because there's going to be multiple entries, he's just going to be very busy. If that might just prolong development of another Kingdom Hearts game. I mean, granted, Square doesn't mind assigning multiple games to Nomura. But I just wonder if that might be an issue with prolonging another release in the future.
My prediction is that he'll get 7 remake off the ground, and he'll probably let episode 2 and 3 or something of the FF7 remake go
Right.
to someone. Then he'll probably focus on Kingdom Hearts 4 or the potential Yozara project if that's the thing.
Or 3.35 or something.
Yeah.
Stop. Actually, okay, I gotta hand it to them. It was such a good I'm sure it was for the laughs where at the beginning of 3, like it starts off technically with 2.9. I thought that was hilarious.
Oh yeah, I thought that was like one major middle finger to us. We're like, come on.
Yeah, I love that. It was hilarious. It's like 2.9. Like, oh,
I know he was
okay.
just joking when I saw that, but
Yeah.
I felt I needed to react to it in some way.
Like, you're almost there. Yeah.
Like, why do you do this to me?
Like, yeah, as soon as that popped up, I just started laughing. Like, wow, this is amazing. They like the self-referential, like just jab there, like so good.
Then you have like Axel once in a while go, I don't know what's going
Yes.
on.
Yes, like it's just so much, it's just too much to get memorized. Like Roxas looks like Ven, or is it Ven and looks like Roxas or whatever? And it's like
He's like wigging out.
yeah. It's great. And then the Jiminy shows up and he's like, now who? See, it's like everyone knows everybody. Okay, this is confusing. Hilarious. Like calling
Everybody-
out their own convolution is amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah, but overall, Kingdom Hearts 3, fantastic game. I mean, there are some slight flaws to it in the story and gameplay, but I say that was a very satisfying game. I love the way it ended. The secret movie got
Mhm.
me excited. I'm glad that the series can now go in a direction where they don't have to answer too much to the previous games.
Mm.
They can go on and do like something completely new. And like maybe they can take it in a darker direction, or they can establish new elements. I know they'll likely have to go with the Master and Master story, but they can really
Right.
still take that wherever they want.
I do think that is really important though, if they want to keep expanding their audience, that they do have to like start the story new, like let new people come in at this
Yeah.
point and like have a place to like play the game, understand what's going on completely without 15 years of games to get through
Right.
to understand everything. So
I'd be
But-
okay if they like answer all the Master and Master stuff in 4 and then like go to a new story again in 5.
Mhm.
I have a feeling Nomura kind of learned his lesson about stretching or expanding the story too much.
Mhm.
Sure.
Because I think even he'll acknowledge there's a lot you have to take on
Yeah, 'cause-
just to like they even released a game called The Story So Far.
Right. And I think like I don't know if you guys have got the deluxe edition of the game.
No, I
But-
didn't.
No.
So in the art book, there's actually a note from Nomura, and he mentioned that this time around, like he really wanted it to be simple, so that way, like you were saying, like I think with the next games, it would be simpler. It wouldn't have to like answer all those questions, and it would, um, it'd be easier to understand and just follow with the simple plot. Because even like so with like the chessboard. And like now there are only 7 dark pieces, and then Sora. Like it's just fresh.
Mhm.
There isn't too much to dive into, and yeah. So I think that's a good thing going forward.
Yeah, I totally agree. I mean, you're going to have those fans that love the complexity of it and may complain
Mhm.
about that, but I think for mass appeal, this is the
Yeah.
right way to go.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
I
Couldn't
mean,
say it better myself.
there's still enough to theory craft. Like everyone still wonders who the Master and Master is and
Mhm.
what's in the black box. I mean, there's stuff like that lingering to give people theory crafting. So
Mhm.
I personally think that Master and Master of Sora, who went
It-
back in time.
I hope they like drag on this black box thing for like 7 more games, and
Oh,
then they
yeah.
open it and it's like empty, or like like there's like a banana in it or something. Like it's just
I'm gonna
nothing
be a
important.
70-year-old man. I'm gonna be like, "What's in the black box?"
Tell me.
It'd be like a like Fallout New Vegas. Like it's just like this old dude in there, like just malnourished. Like,
Yeah, you're just. I just need to know.
you can kill me.
Just get a
Or-
little hint.
But anyways, wow, that was a long podcast. Do you guys have any other things you want to bring up about the game, or anything on your mind that you just really want to get out there?
The music is godly.
Oh yeah,
Music's
that is
great.
true. Yeah, the
Um,
music is fantastic.
Yoko
How did we-
Shimomura, like I don't know how she outdid herself, but she did.
I thought I was
wow.
going to be criticizing that they reused some tracks, and then I found out how she reused them. Like she mixed the final battle is like a mixture of
Yeah.
like final battles from the previous games, and and they blend so well together. They're like
Mm.
coming on at the same time. I'm like, how did she do this? This,
And
this does not deserve to be this good.
and also, like, what was really cool is this time around there was actual scoring throughout the scenes, like having these like whereas before it would just be like silence and then the characters just talking and really awkward. But this time there was scoring and there were, for the lighter moments, there was like a hop like or a jumpy like bright
Comical, yeah.
song. Yeah. And then like and just even like the subtle things, like having subtle scoring there like really helped in making Kingdom Hearts 3 more of a like even more of a cinematic experience than it ever was. And I thought
Yeah.
that was really cool.
Yeah, because the PS2 has a lot of awkward animations. If you look back at it, it's like the delivery of everything, but the localization team did a solid job of like keeping those like awkward moments to a
Mhm.
very minimal. Like you'll get like weird pauses like in between characters
Mhm.
just because it's just how it was set up. But like every character felt more lifelike. You never got cardboard face. Maybe some
Right.
scenes where like characters are like less animated, but
Yeah.
I mean,
But
but
because the
it felt
models were so
consistent.
detailed.
Yeah,
And,
it
like, it
felt
was hard
so
to tell.
consistent. So
Yeah.
good. But yeah, the soundtrack, I mean, the
Mhm.
presentation of this game. I mean, if I had to give a score, just perfect score on that. Like they went above and beyond.
Hmm.
Mhm.
Like it's really weird because you go from the PS2 generation straight to this, and
Right.
you're just mind blown
Yeah.
that it looks this good.
It's crazy.
It
Like, I don't
reminds you
even
that
know.
the series skipped the PS3 essentially.
Yeah.
Mhm. Yeah, and
Mhm.
and then it, like it's interesting because when I first played Kingdom Hearts 3, it was like, this is the Kingdom Hearts 3 that I had kinda, like, dreamed of, like, where, like, the graphics alone were, like, something that I have, like, always dreamed of having for a Kingdom Hearts game, like, essentially having the, cinematic, like, opening, like, graphics be like, the CG graphics be the gameplay
Comparable to the
the gameplay graphics, yeah.
yeah. Yeah. So
But
yeah, even from my perspective, like I said, I haven't played all the games, but I really, really enjoyed it. Makes me want to dive in to some of the other games, and definitely gonna pick up games in the future. If they could make one minor improvement, I felt like a lot of the cutscenes were, especially towards the end,
mhm,
were just so freaking long. Um, you
yeah.
defeat a battle and it'd be like, oh, okay, here's 15 minutes. All right, battle again, 15 minutes. But
I mean, welcome to Kingdom Hearts. There's a scene in 2 where we watch Xemnas go put a card into a computer and walk down a giant spiral
Oh my goodness.
stairs. And we're
Yes.
like, get on with it.
That was way too long. And the cool thing too was with the animation in this game, in that documentary I mentioned earlier, I like Pixar worked with Square and kind of like taught them more or less how to animate better with even having like a line of sight for the characters when they're speaking to each other.
Mhm.
And you can kind of like see that now, like going back and looking at the cutscenes, the cinematography, like the shots are so clean and like not like they don't feel like video game cutscenes. They feel like movies, you know? And I thought that was really cool.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it was very, very impressive. I definitely felt like I was getting the cinematic experience when we were watching the story sequences of these games. So it
Mhm.
was a very, very impressive. It makes me excited to see what they're going to do in the PS5 generation
Oh,
and whatever the Xbox comes out with, because it's just it's going to be very, very comparable to the films for sure.
Maybe
Uh,
Unreal Engine 5 will come.
yeah,
And then they'll have to scrap Kingdom Hearts 4 to using Unreal
no.
Engine 5.
Oh man.
the
Mm-mm.
voice actor for Sora will be like 45.
My God, please get a different voice actor for Sora. I am begging you at this point. Haley Joel, I'm not. It's not a criticism of Haley Joel Osment himself.
He just went through puberty.
He's just too old to play Sora.
Well,
Hey
by that time,
man.
He
Sora
sounds
should
like
be
a
like a grown man, right?
Yeah, he should just grow up now. I think that's the problem. Sora just needs to get older. And
Like
I
he's
think
like
Sora's still
16. I think
teen stuff.
he
he's
yeah.
16 because it's a year after 2, so he's 16. Crazy, dude. Come on. Please
I
just
mean,
grow
it
him up.
sounds natural. Like Sora sounds like a 30-year-old man trying to do an impression of a lighthearted teenager's voice.
Yeah.
I mean, so at some points it was
There were look like I think he overall did a good job. Like I think like it worked for the most part, but every now and again, like I feel like like his man voice would just come out,
yeah.
and it would be
Yeah.
like, where did that come from?
I'm
Where it was really bad was in Dream Drop Distance, and then a bit at the beginning of this game with like the 2.9 stuff because he was still trying really hard to sound younger. But then after that, after Olympus, and I think it kind of felt more
More natural.
natural. Yeah,
Yeah.
like okay, yeah, it sounds like an older Sora now. It doesn't sound like him trying to still be the Kingdom Hearts 2 Sora. So.
Yeah, they'll probably do something ridiculous like, okay, Sora is now 20, but he's been reduced back to looking like he's age 12 again, or something awkward. Just
Like an anime.
to keep, yeah, just to keep with like the ridiculous aspect of it.
I think that thing in Dream Drop Distance was an excuse just to use the Kingdom Hearts 1 models again. They were probably easier to use than the Kingdom
Yeah,
Hearts 2 ones. So they're
like
probably
less polygons to work with.
Hmm.
yeah. Uh, uh for Haley Joel, man, I'm sorry. Get a different I'm used to it, but
Mm.
I really think it's time for someone more natural to come in.
Well, I mean, if he just ages, Sora the character ages, and like I think it'll just be
Sure. I mean, you can
Yeah.
do that, and Haley Joel can be like, "Well, finally, I can use my regular voice. Hey, guys,
Mhm.
I'm Sora."
Which is what he kinda did to an extent with, like, Vanitas a bit, but it was still trying really hard to go higher. 'Cause, there's also, like, a clip from some show he's in where he's, like, yelling, and even people, like, reposted that clip and, like, titled it, uh, "Haley Joel Osment accidentally does Sora" or whatever, and, like, he's, like, yelling, and, like, he goes up um to that like, that pitch, and he sounds just like Sora when he's yelling, and it's like, "Ah." So I guess, I mean, he doesn't have to try that hard to sound like Sora. So I think probably like maintaining that for like billion hours in a game.
yeah,
You
it
know?
must be it must train him a little bit to sound like that through
Yeah.
just normal
Well, the part
other
that's
scenes.
most jarring is when he's in the Disney worlds where he's more of his goofy persona,
Hmm.
like, where he's like, he goes to these Disney worlds and he acts like an 8-year-old. Like, "Oh, pirates, cool!" And then, like, you get to the Keyblade Graveyard, and he's like, "I don't know if I can do" like that. It's
Yeah.
like it's like one part it sounds okay, then the other part it's like,
Yeah.
but everyone else sounded fine. I mean, I still feel indifferent to Master Xehanort's voice actor.
The new one?
I know Leonard Nimoy's dead, you can't do anything about it, but come on, they found a pretty good Christopher Lee impersonator for
I oh, sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off there. Go ahead.
I was just gonna say that, like, I didn't hate the performance
Mhm.
of the new Master Xehanort, but a lot of times it felt underwhelming, or like he was kind of phoning it in sometimes. But um, I kind of
Yeah.
think they just got a Leonard Nimoy impersonator because he knew how to sound really menacing and over the top when he did it, and it doesn't sound so over the top when this new voice.
Yeah, there's some moments where he needed more emotion. Like he would say like we're forging the keyblade or whatever, and it just felt very monotonous. It didn't have like much fluctuation with like the delivery.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but besides that, I enjoyed everyone else. Everyone else.
I thought it was kind of humorous. It seemed to me like in order to join Organization 13, you had to have like a ridiculously deep voice. Like every single character to me was just like like could like narrate a movie trailer in a theater. The way
Yeah,
they talked.
yeah, I'd say Marluxia. That's another big. I think his voice was very one noted,
Yeah.
and it was like yeah, it was very robotic. I think he was just like like just the same voice, Sora.
Mm.
Yeah, but overall, good acting, like really good acting, the best acting in the series so far.
Yeah, and the cinematography complemented very well.
Definitely.
Hmm.
Well, guys, do you have anything else you want to bring up before we close this thing out? It's been a
No, I think I'm at the cutting point.
Kingdom Hearts 3, a good game. 10 out of 10. No, I'm kidding. Would play again.
I mean, it's a really good game. It's I think any flaws it has is overwhelmed with a lot of positive aspects to it.
yeah, I mean, if you like character driven stories, I think like you'll love this game. If you like to draw the plot points on the wall and stick to conventional story structures, it might drive you a little nuts, but
yeah,
it's got great gameplay. It's a lot of fun and great music, great cinematography. I mean, it's all around. It's a really, really good game. So
if you're looking for like a really
I don't think anybody listening to this at this point is looking to buy it. I think they probably already purchased it, but go ahead.
Yeah, if you're like hardcore player, loves games like Dark Souls, and you want something like hard like Final Mix Kingdom Hearts 2.
Yeah, like why would you go from Dark Souls to Kingdom Hearts? Like
no.
This game doesn't have it yet. So if Final Mix comes around and people are saying like, "Oh, there's this impossible boss I got," then I guess it's a good time then. But
Yeah.
a lot of people play Kingdom Hearts for the story, so that's a very small audience.
Yeah, it's fun. It's a fun game. I think my only issues were like paying attention to like the lore of Kingdom Hearts. It kind of like messes itself up a bit, but the story itself, like just the story, it's good.
Yeah. It was satisfying for sure. All right. Well, I think that about wraps us up. I think it's a good note to end on. Riconius,
Yeah.
thanks for joining us. Like you offered a lot of great insight into the Kingdom Hearts world. I think you're a lot better conversationalist for this game with Eric than I would have been, because like my Kingdom Hearts understanding is very surface level. So
even I learned a few new things. So
thanks for inviting me. Thanks for inviting me, though.
Yeah,
like, it was a pleasure.
Yeah.
And we'll leave a link to your channel in the description. That way people can go check your channel out. But you have a lot of great Kingdom Hearts stuff on there. You do some other stuff too, but there's a lot of great Kingdom Hearts videos on there, which I think is going to be the biggest draw for a lot of people listening to this. So y'all should go check it out. But go ahead.
Yeah, Kingdom Hearts has a great future ahead of itself now, and so I see the Kingdom Hearts content just going to be keeping on coming.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. It's definitely not going to stop with 3. Like, there's a lot more to talk about.
Oh yeah, never ending.
But I'm sure we'll be still trucking out episodes at some point when that happens, hopefully, and we'll talk about those then. But anyways, appreciate you all checking us out. Go ahead and hit the subscribe button if this is your first time. We'd really appreciate that. And we do have an audio version as well. That link will be in the description. But other than that, we will catch you all next week. Again, appreciate Riconius coming out and chatting with us this week, and we'll check you all out next week. Take it easy, guys.
Take care.